If you are listening to these words right now, it is no coincidence. You are drawn to this message because your consciousness is ready to make the quantum leap it has been preparing for years. The universe is conspiring in your favor, and this moment, this exact moment before 2026 begins, is the window of opportunity you've been waiting for. Throughout the next chapters, you will discover why everything in your life up to now has been preparation for what is about to happen. You will understand the universal laws that govern accelerated manifestation and how to activate them deliberately. Most importantly, you will learn how to become the version of yourself who is already living the best year of your life before 2026 even begins. This audiobook combines cutting-edge neuroscience, quantum physics, and ancient wisdom to create a complete map of transformation. You will reprogram subconscious patterns that have been blocking your prosperity, activate magnetic emotional states that attract extraordinary opportunities, and align every cell in your body with the frequency of your desired future. Science is clear. Your brain does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This means you can begin living 2026 now, neurologically and energetically. And when you do, the universe has no choice but to match your new frequency. Get ready. Your best year isn't just coming. It began the moment you decided to press play. Welcome to your new reality. Chapter 1. The call you cannot ignore. There are no coincidences. You need to understand this truth before we go any further together. The fact that you're hearing these words right now, at this precise moment in your life, is not random. It's not luck. It's not an algorithm that happened to suggest this audiobook to you. Something much deeper, much more intelligent, much more purposeful has been orchestrating the events of your life to bring you to this exact moment. You were chosen to receive this message. And if you can feel a stirring in your chest right now, a recognition, a sense that something important is about to shift in your life, that's your soul confirming what I'm telling you. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Let me share something with you that neuroscience has proven beyond any doubt. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for information that matches your current beliefs and expectations. It's called the reticular activating system, and it's filtering through millions of pieces of data every single second, deciding what to bring to your conscious awareness. Right now, billions of people on this planet are scrolling through content, listening to music, watching videos, consuming information. But you were drawn to this specific message. Your reticular activating system recognized something in these words that aligned with a deeper knowing inside you. Your consciousness is ready for what's coming. Your soul has been preparing you for this moment, and now the universe is delivering exactly what you need to hear. Think about the series of events that had to happen for you to be here right now. Maybe you saw a title that stopped you mid-scroll. Maybe someone recommended this to you at exactly the right time. Maybe you've been searching for answers, feeling like something needs to change, and this appeared as if in response to that internal question. None of that is coincidence. The universe speaks to us through synchronicity, through these perfectly timed moments that seem too specific to be random. Carl Jung spent his entire career studying this phenomenon, and he concluded that meaningful coincidences are the universe's way of showing us that we're on the right path, that we're tuned into something larger than ourselves. But here's what most people miss. Synchronicity doesn't just happen to you randomly. It happens when you're in alignment with your higher purpose, when your energy is elevated, when you're ready to receive. The fact that this message found you means your vibration has shifted. Something in you has changed, even if you can't articulate exactly what it is yet. You've been doing the inner work, consciously or unconsciously. You've been asking questions. You've been seeking. You've been growing. And now the universe is responding with exactly what you need for your next level of evolution. I want you to really feel into what I'm about to tell you, because this is the foundation of everything that follows. You are not a passive observer of your life. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not at the mercy of external forces beyond your control. You are a powerful creator, and you have been creating your reality all along, whether you knew it or not. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold is broadcasting a frequency into the quantum field, and that field is responding by organizing reality to match your frequency. This isn't mysticism. This is quantum physics. Particles remain in a state of infinite possibility until they're observed, until consciousness interacts with them. Your consciousness is literally collapsing waves of probability into concrete reality every single moment of your existence. Now here's where it gets really interesting. If you've been creating your reality all along, why hasn't your life looked the way you wanted it to? Why have there been struggles, disappointments, years that didn't live up to your hopes? The answer is both simple and profound. You've been creating from your subconscious programming, not from your conscious desires. Your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your daily thoughts and behaviors, was programmed in the first 7 years of your life. It absorbed beliefs about money, success, worthiness, love, and possibility from your parents, your environment, your early experiences, and those beliefs have been running in the background like software, creating the same patterns, the same limitations, the same results year after year. But something has shifted in you. That's why you're here. Your conscious mind has started to wake up to this truth. You've started to notice the patterns. You've started to question the beliefs. You've started to realize that the life you've been living isn't the life you came here to live. And that awareness, that awakening, is the first step in transformation. You cannot change what you're not aware of. But once you see it, once you truly understand that you've been operating from old programming, you gain the power to rewrite the code. Here's what I know about you, even though we've never met. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That sense that something big is coming, that your life is about to change in a major way. Maybe you've been feeling restless, like you're outgrowing your current reality. Maybe you've been having dreams that feel significant, visions of a different future. Maybe you've been noticing more synchronicities, more signs, more moments where the universe seems to be trying to get your attention. These aren't random occurrences. These are breadcrumbs leading you toward your next evolution, your higher self, the wisest part of you that exists beyond time and space, has been orchestrating these experiences to wake you up, to prepare you, to remind you of who you really are and what you're capable of. The reason you were chosen to hear this message before 2026 is because your soul has a mission for this coming year. There's something you're meant to create, someone you're meant to become, a version of your life that's been waiting in the quantum field for you to claim it. And the window of opportunity for stepping into that reality is now. Not next year. Not when you feel more ready. Not when circumstances are more favorable. Now. This moment, this space between where you've been and where you're going, is sacred. It's the moment of transformation, the moment when you decide to stop living from your past and start living from your future. Think about a caterpillar in a cocoon. There's a moment in that process that's absolutely critical. The caterpillar's body essentially dissolves into a kind of cellular soup. Everything it was breaks down completely. And in that soup, there are cells called imaginal cells that hold the blueprint for the butterfly. At first, the caterpillar's immune system attacks these imaginal cells because they're different, they're new, they threaten the old structure. But the imaginal cells keep appearing, more and more of them, until they reach a critical mass. And then something miraculous happens. They begin to organize, to communicate with each other, to build something entirely new. The butterfly emerges not as an improved version of the caterpillar, but as a completely different being with completely different capabilities. You are in that cocoon right now. The old version of you, with its old beliefs and old limitations and old patterns, is dissolving, and the imaginal cells of your new identity, your highest potential, are multiplying. They're organizing. They're preparing to build something magnificent. But here's the thing about transformation. It requires you to let go of what you've been. It requires you to release your attachment to the familiar, even if the familiar has been painful. It requires you to trust the process, even when you're in that uncomfortable soup stage, where you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. This is exactly where you are. And this is exactly why you are meant to hear this now, because 2026 isn't just another year. It's your emergence year. It's the year when everything you've been preparing for, learning and becoming, finally takes form in your physical reality. But the transformation doesn't start on January 1st. It starts right now. It starts the moment you make the decision to stop being who you've been and start embodying who you're meant to become. Let me tell you something that the ancient mystery schools understood and modern neuroscience has now confirmed. There's a part of your brain called the pineal gland, often called the third eye, that functions as a translator between the physical and non-physical realms. When you activate this gland through elevated emotions and focused intention, you gain access to information and possibilities that exist beyond your five senses. You begin to perceive reality not as it is, but as it could be. You start to receive downloads, insights, knowings that seem to come from nowhere, but are actually coming from your connection to the quantum field, to the unified consciousness that connects all things. This gland has been dormant in most people, calcified by fluoride and limited thinking and a focus purely on the material world. But in you, it's starting to activate. That's why you've been drawn to this message. That's why certain things are starting to feel different. Your perception is expanding. Your intuition is sharpening. You're beginning to sense the invisible forces that shape reality, and you're learning to work with them consciously instead of being unconsciously controlled by them. The ancient Egyptians knew this. They left us clues in their temples, in their texts, in their symbols. The Eye of Horus, one of their most sacred symbols, is actually an anatomically precise depiction of the pineal gland and the surrounding brain structures. They understood that human beings have the capacity to see beyond the physical, to access higher dimensions of reality, to become conscious co-creators with the divine intelligence that governs the universe. This wasn't mythology. This was science. This was technology. This was a map for human transformation that we're only now beginning to understand again. You carry this same potential. Every human being does. But most people never activate it because they're too busy living in survival mode, trapped in stress and worry and fear, which keeps them locked in the lower brain centers, in fight or flight, in a state where transformation is impossible. But you've been doing something different. Maybe you've been meditating, even if irregularly. Maybe you've been visualizing, dreaming of a different future. Maybe you've been working with affirmations, consuming content like this that elevates your thinking. All of those practices have been preparing your nervous system, training your brain to operate from a higher state of consciousness. And now you're ready for the next level. You're ready to understand not just that you can create your reality, but how to do it with precision and power. You're ready to learn the specific techniques that turn wishes into manifestations, that collapse time between desire and fulfillment, that allow you to live multiple timelines simultaneously and choose the one you prefer. This is what the next chapters will teach you. But first, you had to understand this foundational truth. You are here by design, not by accident. You were chosen because your consciousness is ready. You are called because your soul has work to do in 2026 that requires you to step into a new level of power and awareness. There's a concept in physics called quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, they remain connected regardless of the distance between them. Change the state of one particle, and the other instantly responds, even if it's on the other side of the universe. This isn't theory. This has been proven in laboratories over and over again. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, because it seemed to violate everything we thought we knew about how reality works. But it's real. And here's what's even more profound. Consciousness is entangled with everything in the universe. Your awareness is connected to every possibility, every outcome, every potential future that exists in the quantum field. When you hear this message and something resonates deep within you, that's not just emotional recognition. That's quantum entanglement. Your consciousness is recognizing its connection to a future version of yourself that already exists, that's already living your best year, that's already manifested everything you desire. That future you is real. It exists right now in a parallel timeline, in a different vibrational frequency. And the gap between where you are and where that version of you exists isn't a matter of time. It's a matter of frequency. Change your frequency, and you change your timeline. Elevate your vibration, and you quantum leap into the reality where your best year is already happening. This is why you needed to hear this before 2026, because if you wait until January to start making changes, you're already behind. The transformation has to happen now, in your consciousness, in your energy, in your identity. You have to become the person who lives your best year before the year even begins. You have to start thinking the thoughts, feeling the emotions, making the choices, and holding the energy of that future self right now. Because that's how you collapse the distance between here and there. That's how you make the quantum leap. I want you to notice how you're feeling right now as you hear these words. Notice if there's a part of you that's excited, energized, hopeful. That's your true self, the unlimited you, recognizing truth. But also notice if there's a part of you that's skeptical, resistant, trying to find reasons why this couldn't work for you. That's your ego, your old programming, trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. It's not bad or wrong. It's just doing what it was programmed to do. But you don't have to listen to it anymore. You can acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, and then choose to move forward anyway. Because here's what I know with absolute certainty. The universe doesn't call people who aren't ready. It doesn't plant desires in your heart that you're not capable of fulfilling. If you can conceive of a better year, a better life, a better version of yourself, that means it's possible for you. That means the pathway already exists. That means somewhere in the quantum field, in the realm of all possibilities, that reality is already formed and waiting for you to match its frequency so it can materialize in your physical experience. You were chosen for this message because you're ready to claim that reality. You are called to this moment Because your soul knows it's time. Everything in your life up until now, every experience, every challenge, every lesson, has been preparing you for what's about to unfold in 2026. And it starts right here, right now, with the decision to listen, to open yourself to possibility, to trust that something greater than your logical mind is guiding you toward your highest good. So take a breath, feel the weight of this moment, feel the significance of what's being offered to you. You stand at a threshold, a doorway between your old life and your new life. Behind you is everything you've been, everything you've known, everything that's felt safe and familiar, even if it wasn't fully satisfying. Ahead of you is the unknown, the new, the transformed version of your reality that's been calling to you through your dreams and desires and that persistent feeling that there's more, that you're meant for more, that your best is yet to come. The choice is yours. You can close your mind, return to the familiar patterns, convince yourself that this is just another motivational message that won't really change anything. Or you can stay open, stay curious, stay willing to discover what's possible when you align with the intelligence of the universe and step fully into your power as a conscious creator. I already know which choice you're going to make, because if you were the kind of person who would turn away from this, you never would have made it this far. Your soul has been searching for this information, and now that you've found it, there's no going back. The awakening has begun. Your transformation into the person who lives your best year in 2026 has already started. Welcome to your new reality. Welcome to the most important journey of your life. Welcome home to the truth of who you really are. Chapter 2. The truth about why your previous years were what they were. You need to hear something that might challenge everything you've believed about your past. Every single year of your life, every experience you've had, every person you've met, every challenge you've faced, every disappointment that broke your heart, every failure that made you question yourself, was perfectly orchestrated, not as punishment, not as evidence that you're not good enough, or that the universe is against you, but as preparation, as training, as the exact curriculum your soul needed to become capable of handling what's coming in 2026. I know that might be hard to accept, especially if you're carrying pain from your past. Maybe you've had years that felt wasted, relationships that ended badly, career opportunities that slipped through your fingers, financial struggles that kept you up at night, wondering how you'd make it through. Maybe you've looked at other people's lives and wondered why things seemed to come so easily to them, while you had to fight for every inch of progress. Maybe you've asked yourself what you did wrong, why you weren't chosen for the blessings and breakthroughs that others seem to receive effortlessly. But I'm going to show you something that will completely transform how you see your entire life story. There's a concept in neuroscience called post-traumatic growth. Researchers discovered something fascinating when they studied people who had been through significant hardships. They found that individuals who experienced major challenges and learned to work through them didn't just return to their baseline level of functioning. They actually exceeded it. They became stronger, more resilient, more capable, more compassionate, more wise than they ever would have been without those challenges. The difficult experiences literally rewired their brains, creating new neural pathways, expanding their capacity, preparing them for levels of success and fulfillment they couldn't have accessed otherwise. Your brain is the most sophisticated learning machine in the known universe. It has approximately 86 billion neurons, and each neuron can form thousands of connections with other neurons. Every experience you have creates new neural pathways, new patterns of electrical activity that become the foundation for your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. When you face a challenge and overcome it, your brain doesn't just return to normal. It upgrades. It creates stronger connections, more complex networks, greater capacity. You literally become a more evolved version of yourself, neurologically. Think about it this way. If you wanted to develop powerful muscles, you wouldn't avoid resistance. You'd seek it out. You'd lift heavy weights specifically because the resistance is what forces your muscles to break down and rebuild stronger. Your muscles don't grow when you're comfortable. They grow when they're challenged beyond their current capacity. And here's what most people miss. Your consciousness works exactly the same way. Your capacity for manifestation, your ability to hold a higher frequency, your power to create extraordinary results, all of these expand through challenge, through resistance, through experiences that force you to reach deeper, think bigger, and become more than you were. Every year of your life that didn't turn out the way you hoped was building specific capabilities in you. That year when you struggled financially, it was teaching you about the relationship between your inner state and your outer results. It was showing you which beliefs about money and worthiness were operating in your subconscious. It was training you to find security within yourself rather than in external circumstances, which is the only true security that exists. That year when a relationship ended and left you feeling broken, it was clearing space for a higher level of love. It was teaching you about your own patterns, your own wounds, your own ways of abandoning yourself that you were unconsciously recreating in your relationships. It was preparing you to attract and maintain the kind of partnership that matches the frequency of your highest self. That year when you worked so hard and didn't get the recognition or promotion or breakthrough you deserved, it was teaching you about self-validation, about finding your worth independent of external approval. It was showing you that the opinions of others, even those in positions of authority, don't define your value or your potential. It was preparing you to step into your own authority, to become the creator of your own opportunities, rather than waiting for someone else to give you permission to succeed. Every single experience was serving you, even when it didn't feel that way, even when it hurt, even when you couldn't see the purpose. There's a reason why every spiritual tradition talks about the dark night of the soul. It's not a punishment. It's an initiation. It's the process by which your old identity, your limited sense of self, has to dissolve, so that a greater version of you can emerge. The caterpillar doesn't gently transform into a butterfly. It literally liquefies. Everything it was completely breaks down. And in that dissolution, in that darkness, in that space where the old form no longer exists, but the new form hasn't yet taken shape, that's where the real magic happens. That's where consciousness reorganizes itself at a higher level. You've been through your own dark nights. Maybe you're in one right now. Maybe you've had multiple. But what you haven't understood until this moment is that those experiences weren't evidence that you were on the wrong path. They were evidence that you were on exactly the right path, going through exactly the transformation your soul required. The universe doesn't send you experiences you're not ready for. It doesn't give you challenges you're not capable of meeting. Every single difficulty you've faced came with a hidden gift, a lesson, a capability, a strength that you needed to develop for what's coming next. Let me share something about how the universe actually works. Everything in existence operates according to universal laws, just as consistent and reliable as the law of gravity. One of these laws is the law of polarity, which states that everything has an opposite and both poles are necessary for creation. You cannot know light without darkness. You cannot know joy without sorrow. You cannot know success without failure. You cannot know your own strength without having experienced weakness. The contrasts aren't mistakes. They're the very mechanism through which consciousness expands and evolves. When you look back at your past from this new understanding, you begin to see a pattern you couldn't see before. You begin to see how every experience was leading you somewhere, teaching you something, preparing you for something. That job you hated taught you what you don't want, which is just as valuable as knowing what you do want. That friendship that betrayed you taught you how to trust your intuition, how to recognize red flags, how to set boundaries. That year when nothing seemed to work taught you perseverance, taught you faith, taught you how to keep going, even when you can't see the results yet. Here's what neuroscience tells us about learning and memory. Your brain doesn't actually store memories as perfect recordings of what happened. Instead, it encodes the emotional significance of experiences, the lessons learned, the patterns recognized. And every time you recall a memory, you're not playing back a recording. You're reconstructing it based on your current level of understanding and awareness. This means you have the power right now to reinterpret your entire past. You can go back through your memories and extract different meanings, different lessons, different gifts from the exact same experiences. This isn't about denying that painful things happened or pretending that everything was perfect. This is about recognizing that you get to choose the story you tell about your past. You get to choose whether your past is evidence of your limitations or evidence of your resilience. You get to choose whether your previous years are proof that you're unlucky or proof that you're being prepared for something extraordinary. And the story you choose becomes the lens through which you see yourself, which becomes the frequency you broadcast, which becomes the reality you create moving forward. Think about someone who goes through a difficult childhood and becomes bitter, angry, and cynical. They tell themselves a story that life is unfair, that people can't be trusted, that they're damaged beyond repair, and that story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their bitterness pushes people away. Their cynicism closes doors. Their identity as a victim attracts more victimizing experiences. Now think about someone who goes through an equally difficult childhood and becomes compassionate, strong, and determined to create a different life. They tell themselves a story that their past made them stronger, that their experiences gave them unique insights, that they're capable of overcoming anything. And that story also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their compassion attracts deep connections. Their strength opens opportunities. Their determination creates breakthrough after breakthrough. Same experiences, different stories, different identities, different lives. You have this same power. You can look at your past and see a series of random events that happened to you, leaving you scarred and limited. Or you can look at your past and see an intelligent design, a perfect curriculum, a hero's journey where you were forged in fire and emerged stronger, wiser, more capable than you ever could have been without those experiences. Which story empowers you? Which story makes you feel like a victim? Which story gives you energy? Which story drains you? Which story makes 2026 your best year inevitable? Which story makes it impossible? I want you to understand something about how energy works. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold creates an electromagnetic field around your body. This isn't mysticism. This is measurable science. The HeartMath Institute has done extensive research showing that your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet outside your body And this field changes based on your emotional state. When you're in a coherent emotional state, when you're feeling elevated emotions like gratitude, love, joy, inspiration, your heart rhythm becomes ordered and harmonious, and this coherent field actually affects the people and circumstances around you. But here's what's even more interesting. Your electromagnetic field doesn't just affect your present environment. It also interacts with the quantum field, with the realm of infinite possibilities, literally attracting circumstances, opportunities, and synchronicities that match your frequency. When you're broadcasting the frequency of victimhood, of resentment, of bitterness about your past, you're attracting more experiences that will make you feel like a victim. When you're broadcasting the frequency of gratitude, of strength, of faith that everything was serving your highest good, you're attracting experiences that will validate and amplify that belief. This is why reframing your past isn't just a nice psychological trick to make you feel better. It's literally changing the trajectory of your future. When you change the meaning you assign to your past experiences, you change your identity. When you change your identity, you change your frequency. When you change your frequency, you change what you're attracting, what you're creating, what's possible for you. You're not just thinking positive thoughts about things that hurt you. You're fundamentally rewiring your relationship with your own story, with your own power, with your own capacity to create what you want. Let me give you a specific example of how this works. Imagine two people who both got laid off from their jobs last year. Person A interprets this as evidence that they're not good enough, that the job market is terrible, that they'll never find something better, that they're unlucky, that things don't work out for them. They spend months feeling defeated, sending out half-hearted applications, dreading interviews, expecting rejection. And guess what happens? They struggle for a long time, eventually settling for a job that's worse than the one they lost, confirming their belief that getting laid off ruined everything. Person B gets laid off from the exact same company, on the exact same day. But person B interprets this completely differently. They see it as the universe removing them from a situation that wasn't aligned with their highest potential. They recognize that they'd been feeling stuck in that job anyway, but they didn't have the courage to leave on their own. They see the layoff as a redirection, as an opportunity to reassess what they really want, to pursue something they're actually passionate about. They spend their time off getting clear on their vision, upgrading their skills, networking with intention, trusting that something better is coming. And within a few months, they land a position that's not just better than their old job, but better than they even knew was possible for them, with higher pay, more flexibility, and work they actually love. Same event, different interpretation, different energy, different actions, different results. This is the power you have. This is what I'm inviting you to do with your entire past. Not to lie to yourself about what happened, but to look deeper, to find the gifts, to extract the gold, to recognize that every single year of your life was exactly what you needed to become, who you're about to become in 2026. There's a quantum physics principle called the observer effect, which I mentioned in the previous chapter. But let me go deeper into what this means for your past. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in a state of superposition, meaning they're in all possible states simultaneously, until they're observed. The act of observation collapses the wave function, forcing the particle to choose a specific state. Now here's the mind-bending part. This doesn't just apply to particles in a laboratory. It applies to your entire life. Your past isn't actually fixed. It exists as a collection of possibilities. and the meaning you assign to your experiences literally determines which version of your past becomes real for you right now. When you observe your past through the lens of victimhood, you collapse it into a timeline where things happened to you and you had no power. When you observe your past through the lens of growth and preparation, you collapse it into a timeline where everything happened for you and you were being guided all along. Both versions are true simultaneously until you choose which one to make real through your observation, through your interpretation, through the story you tell. And the version you make real becomes the foundation upon which you build your future. This is why so many spiritual teachers say that the past doesn't exist, except as a construct in your mind. This isn't denial. This is understanding the fluid nature of reality, the power of consciousness to shape not just future events, but the meaning and impact of past events. You are not bound by your past unless you choose to be. You are not limited by what happened unless you accept that limitation. You are free to rewrite your story, to see your journey through new eyes, to recognize that every step was leading you here, to this moment, to this awareness, to this power. So I'm going to ask you to do something right now. Think about a year in your past that you've been holding as evidence that life is hard, that things don't work out, that you're unlucky, or cursed, or not destined for greatness. Really bring it into your awareness. Feel the disappointment, the pain, the frustration you felt during that time. Now I want you to ask yourself a different question. What did that year teach you? What strength did you develop? What illusion did it shatter? What wisdom did it give you? How did it prepare you for where you are now? What would you not know? What capability would you not have? What depth would you not possess if that year had been easy and perfect? When you start asking these questions, something shifts. You begin to see that the years you thought were wasted were actually the years that forged you. The relationships that broke your heart were clearing space for the right ones. The opportunities that fell through were redirecting you toward better ones. The financial struggles were teaching you about your own resourcefulness and resilience. The health challenges were forcing you to finally prioritize your well-being. The career setbacks were showing you that external validation is hollow compared to internal fulfillment. Every single thing was serving you. And here's the most powerful part. When you reinterpret your past this way, you're not just making peace with what happened. You're literally upgrading your neurology. Remember, your brain creates neural pathways based on repeated thoughts and interpretations. When you've been running the story that your past is evidence of your limitations, you've strengthened those neural pathways. But when you consciously choose a new interpretation, when you deliberately focus on the gifts and lessons and preparation, you're creating new pathways. And the more you practice this new way of seeing, the more those new pathways strengthen until they become your default, your automatic response, your new truth. This is neuroplasticity in action. Your brain is not fixed. Your perspective is not permanent. Your relationship with your past is not set in stone. You have the power right now, in this moment, to rewire how you see everything that's ever happened to you. And when you do that, when you truly embrace that every year was preparing you, you step into 2026 with a completely different energy. Instead of carrying wounds and disappointments and evidence that things are hard, you carry wisdom and strength and unshakable faith that everything always works out for your highest good. That shift in energy, that shift in frequency, changes everything about what you're able to create. Your best year in 2026 isn't going to happen in spite of your past. It's going to happen because of your past. Every skill you developed, every lesson you learned, every challenge you overcame, every time you got back up when life knocked you down, all of it was preparing you for the level of success and fulfillment and joy that's coming. You couldn't have handled it before. You weren't ready. But now, you are. Now you have exactly what you need. Now you've been trained, tested, and proven. Now you're ready to receive and hold and sustain the reality you've been dreaming of. So release the resentment. Release the regret. Release the belief that your past disqualifies you from an extraordinary future. Your past qualifies you. Your scars are proof of your survival. Your struggles are evidence of your strength. Your failures taught you what success really means. Your losses showed you what you truly value. Your darkest nights prepared you to fully appreciate and radiate the light. Everything happened exactly as it needed to. And now, with this new understanding, with this reframed past, with this empowered perspective, you're ready for what comes next. You're ready for the truth about why this specific moment, this specific window before 2026, is the most important opportunity of your life. Chapter 3. The Quantum Window of Opportunity. Before 2026, right now, in this precise moment in time, you are standing in the middle of one of the most powerful energetic windows that exists in the human experience. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't motivational speaking. This is truth backed by both ancient wisdom and modern science. The period between where you are now and January 1st, 2026, represents a quantum opportunity that won't come around again in exactly this way. And if you can understand why this window is so powerful and how to use it, you can literally compress years of transformation into weeks, collapsing the distance between where you are and where you want to be in a way that will seem impossible to your logical mind. Let me explain what I mean by a quantum window. In physics, there's a phenomenon where particles can tunnel through barriers that they shouldn't be able to cross according to classical mechanics. It's called quantum tunneling, and it happens when the conditions are exactly right. When the energy is at a specific level, when the environment creates a unique possibility. The particle doesn't have to slowly chip away at the barrier. It doesn't have to build up momentum over years. It simply appears on the other side, as if the barrier never existed. This is real. This happens. And this same principle applies to consciousness, to transformation, to your ability to leap from one reality to another. Your life operates in cycles, just like everything in nature. There are seasons of planting, seasons of growth, seasons of harvest, and seasons of rest. Most people move through these cycles unconsciously, wondering why some periods of their life feel effortless, while others feel like pushing a boulder uphill. But when you understand the cycles, when you can recognize which season you're in, you gain the power to work with the natural flow of energy instead of against it. And right now, you're in a season that's uniquely suited for rapid transformation, for quantum leaps, for manifestations that happen faster than you thought possible. Think about the farmer who plants seeds in spring versus the farmer who tries to plant in winter. Same seeds, same soil, same farmer, but completely different results. The spring farmer works with nature's timing and gets an abundant harvest. The winter farmer fights against nature's timing and gets nothing but frustration. You are approaching the energetic equivalent of spring, but it's even more powerful than that. You're approaching a convergence of cycles, a rare alignment where multiple forces are working in your favor simultaneously. This is why 2026 has the potential to be your best year, not because there's something magical about those numbers, but because of where you are in your personal evolution, combined with where we are collectively in larger cycles of consciousness expansion. Ancient cultures understood this deeply. The Mayans tracked multiple calendar systems simultaneously because they knew that different cycles created different possibilities. The Egyptians organized their entire civilization around cosmic cycles. The Chinese have been using energetic calendars for thousands of years to determine the most auspicious times for different activities. They weren't being superstitious. They were being scientific in a way that modern culture has forgotten. They understood that timing matters, that energy flows in patterns, that there are windows when the veil between the invisible and visible worlds becomes thin, making manifestation exponentially easier. Neuroscience gives us another way to understand this window. Your brain has something called the critical period, times in development when it's extraordinarily plastic, when it can reorganize itself rapidly, when learning and change happen at accelerated rates. We used to think these critical periods only existed in childhood, but recent research has discovered that your brain can enter critical period states throughout your entire life under specific conditions. When you're in a critical period state, neuroplasticity increases dramatically. Your brain becomes like clay again, ready to be reshaped. And one of the primary triggers for entering this state is a combination of elevated emotion, focused intention, and the belief that change is possible. This is exactly what's happening to you right now. You're in an elevated state because you're listening to this message. You're focused on transformation because you chose to be here. And you're beginning to believe that 2026 can be different because something in you recognizes the truth in these words. Your brain is already shifting into a more plastic state, becoming more receptive to new patterns, new beliefs, new possibilities. This window isn't just about calendar dates. It's about your internal state meeting external timing in a way that creates optimal conditions for rapid evolution. But here's what most people miss about windows of opportunity. They wait. They think about it. They plan to take action later. They convince themselves they need more information, more resources, more confidence before they can begin. And while they're waiting, the window closes. Energy shifts. The moment passes. The conditions change. And then they wonder why it feels so much harder, why the momentum is gone, why the inspiration faded. Windows don't stay open indefinitely. They're called windows because they have a specific opening and a specific closing. And the most successful manifestors, the people who create extraordinary results, are the ones who recognize windows and act immediately while the energy is available. Think about a surfer. The perfect wave comes, and the surfer has a brief moment to catch it. If they hesitate, if they wait to make sure it's really the right wave, if they spend too much time preparing, the wave passes, and they're left paddling in flat water. But if they recognize the wave, commit fully, and take immediate action, they get to ride an incredible force that carries them exactly where they want to go, with seemingly minimal effort. The wave does most of the work. They just have to align with it and stay on the board. You are being presented with a wave right now. The question is whether you're going to catch it or watch it pass by. Let me tell you about the science of entrainment. When two oscillating systems are near each other, they begin to synchronize. This happens with pendulum clocks, with fireflies flashing, with women's menstrual cycles, with heartbeats. The stronger, more coherent frequency pulls the weaker, less coherent frequency into alignment with it. Right now, there's a rising frequency on the planet, a shift in collective consciousness that's been building for years. More people are waking up, becoming conscious, choosing love over fear, creation over reaction. This rising tide of consciousness is like a powerful frequency generator, and when you intentionally align yourself with it, you get pulled into coherence faster than you could achieve on your own. This is why transformation feels easier for some people than others. It's not that they're more talented or more deserving. They're just better at recognizing and aligning with the frequencies around them. They're like radio receivers that have been tuned to the right station. All the information, all the energy, all the support they need is already broadcasting. They just had to tune in. You're tuning in right now. Every moment you spend in this elevated state, every time you choose to believe in your own transformation, every thought you think that aligns with your highest potential, you're adjusting your frequency, tuning yourself more precisely to the station that broadcasts your best year, your best life, your best self. The quantum field, which is the invisible field of energy and information that underlies all physical reality, responds to coherence. When your thoughts and emotions are aligned, when you're not conflicted, when you're clear about what you want and you believe it's possible, you create a coherent signal that the field can respond to clearly. But when you're scattered, when you're thinking one thing and feeling another, when you say you want change but you don't really believe it's possible, you create incoherent signals that cancel each other out. The field doesn't know what to give you because you're broadcasting contradictory frequencies. This window before 2026 is your opportunity to achieve coherence, to get all parts of yourself aligned, moving in the same direction, broadcasting the same frequency. This doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. It doesn't mean you have to eliminate all doubt or become perfectly positive. It means you need to make a clear decision about who you're becoming and what you're creating, and then commit to that decision with your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you do this, when you achieve this internal coherence, the quantum field has no choice but to reorganize reality around your new frequency. This is law. This is how the universe works. This is how manifestation happens. Now let me share something about timing that will help you understand why acting now is so critical. There's a concept in physics called the arrow of time. The idea that time only moves in one direction, from past to future. But quantum physics reveals something different. At the quantum level, time isn't linear. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously. All possible versions of your life, all potential timelines, exist right now as waves of probability. And here's the key. The choices you make in the present don't just affect your future. They actually reorganize your past and crystallize your future simultaneously. When you make a powerful decision right now about who you're becoming in 2026, you're not just setting a future goal. You're reaching back through time and reinterpreting everything that happened to you as preparation for this new identity. You're reaching forward through time and collapsing the wave function of infinite possibilities into the specific timeline where your best year already exists. You're standing at the intersection point where past, present, and future meet, and you have maximum leverage to shape all three simultaneously. This is the power of now. This is why this moment, this window, is so extraordinary. But this power diminishes the longer you wait. Every day you spend in your old patterns, every time you choose familiar comfort over unknown growth, every moment you spend broadcasting the frequency of who you've been instead of who you're becoming. You're strengthening the neural pathways and energetic patterns that keep you locked in your current reality. The window is open now, but it won't stay open forever. Not because the universe has arbitrary deadlines, but because energy flows in waves, and waves have peaks and troughs. You're at a peak moment right now. The energy is high. The support is available. The timing is optimal. 6 months from now, the energy will have shifted. You'll be in a different phase of the cycle, and what feels possible now might feel distant then. This is why spiritual teachers throughout history have emphasized the importance of the present moment, not because the past and future don't matter, but because the present moment is the only place where you have power to act, to choose, to shift your frequency. The present moment is the doorway through which you access all other moments. And right now, in this present moment, that doorway is wide open. The quantum field is listening. Your future self is reaching back to you, offering guidance and support. The universe is conspiring in your favor. All you have to do is step through the doorway. All you have to do is decide that now is the time. All you have to do is commit to becoming the person who lives your best year, starting right now, not on January 1st. Let me tell you about a study done at MIT where researchers were studying decision-making and neural plasticity. They found that when people made definitive decisions, when they committed fully to a course of action, their brains immediately began reorganizing to support that decision. New neural pathways started forming before they even took the first physical action. The decision itself initiated the transformation, but when people made tentative decisions, when they said they'd think about it or try when the time was right, their brains showed no significant change. The lack of commitment created no neurological shift, no momentum, no transformation. You're being invited to make a definitive decision right now, not a tentative one, not a maybe, not a I'll see how I feel tomorrow. A definitive, all-in, no turning back decision that 2026 will be your best year, and that the transformation starts now. And when you make that decision, when you really commit with every fiber of your being, your brain will immediately start reorganizing. Your energy field will immediately shift. The quantum field will immediately begin rearranging circumstances to match your new frequency. You won't have to force it. You won't have to figure out how. The intelligence of the universe will orchestrate the details. Your job is simply to make the decision and maintain the frequency. Think about what happens in nature during a phase transition. Water sits at 211 degrees hot but still liquid. Then one more degree, one small increment of energy, and suddenly it transforms into steam, expanding to 1,600 times its original volume, gaining the power to move locomotives. That last degree doesn't work harder than the previous 211. It's not more special, but it's the degree that creates the shift from one state to another. You are at that critical degree right now. You've been heating up, learning, growing, preparing, and this window, this moment, this message is the final degree that can catalyze your transformation from one state of being to another. But you have to add the energy. You have to make the choice. You have to step into the discomfort of the unknown and trust that something better exists on the other side. The universe will meet you there. The quantum field will support you. Synchronicities will appear. Doors will open. People will show up. Resources will materialize. But first, you have to take the first step. You have to cross the threshold. You have to act as if your transformation is already certain, already done, already inevitable. This window before 2026 is also about preparation on a practical level. Think about an athlete preparing for the Olympics. They don't wait until the games begin to start training. They spend years before, conditioning their body, programming their mind, practicing their techniques, visualizing success. By the time they arrive at the competition, they've already won it 1,000 times in their consciousness. The physical performance is just a formality, a confirmation of what's already true in their energy field. You need to approach 2026 the same way. These remaining weeks and days aren't just calendar pages to flip through. They're your training ground, your preparation period, your opportunity to become the person who lives your best year before the year even starts. Every morning you wake up between now and January 1st is a chance to practice being that person. Every interaction is an opportunity to respond the way your highest self would respond. Every thought is a moment to choose the frequency that matches your desired reality. Every emotion is feedback about whether you're aligned or not. You're not waiting for 2026 to transform you. You're transforming yourself now, so that when 2026 arrives, you're already the person who lives that reality. You're already broadcasting that frequency. You're already embodying that identity. And then the year unfolds as a reflection of who you've already become. Ancient mystics understood this as the principle of as above, so below, as within, so without. The outer world is always a mirror of your inner world. If you want your external life to change, you must first change internally. And the most powerful time to make that internal change is during windows of heightened energy, times when the veil is thin, when transformation is supported by forces larger than yourself. This is that time. This is that window. This is that opportunity. So I'm going to ask you to do something right now. I'm going to ask you to make a declaration to yourself, to the universe, to your future self. Not out loud necessarily, but in the deepest part of your being. Declare that you're stepping through this window. Declare that you're catching this wave. Declare that you're using this quantum opportunity to become the person who lives your best year in 2026. Declare that the transformation starts now, not later. Declare that you're done waiting, done preparing, done finding reasons why not. Feel the power of that decision in your body. Feel the shift in your energy. Feel the doorway opening. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your window. And you're ready. You've always been ready. You just needed to remember, to recognize, to choose. And now you have. The quantum field is responding to your decision right now. The universe is reorganizing around your new frequency. Your future self is celebrating because you finally chose to step into the timeline where you meet them. Everything is shifting. Everything is aligning. Everything is moving to support your transformation. And all you had to do was decide. All you had to do was recognize the window and step through it. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to the timeline of your best year. Welcome to the new you that's been waiting to emerge. The window is open, and you just walked through it. Chapter 4. Who you need to be to live. Your best year. Your best year in 2026 isn't something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you. This is the distinction that changes everything, and most people never understand it. They think manifestation is about attracting things from outside themselves, about getting the universe to deliver what they want while they remain essentially the same person. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Your external reality is always, always, always a perfect reflection of your internal state. If you want a different year, a different life, a different reality, you must become a different person. Not superficially, not just in your actions or habits, but fundamentally at the level of identity, at the core of who you know yourself to be. Let me be direct with you. The person you are right now, with your current beliefs, your current emotional patterns, your current way of seeing yourself and the world, that person cannot live your best year. It's impossible. Not because you're not good enough, not because you're broken or wrong, but because your current identity has a specific frequency, and that frequency is perfectly matched to your current reality. If you want to access a different reality, you need to shift to a different frequency. And the only way to shift frequency is to change who you're being at the most fundamental level. Think about it this way. If you're broadcasting on FM 95.7, you can't receive the signal from FM 103.5. It doesn't matter how much you want to hear what's playing on 103.5. It doesn't matter how hard you try or how positive you think. If you're tuned to 95.7, that's all you can receive. To hear a different station, you have to change your dial. To experience a different reality, you have to change your identity. Your identity is your dial, your frequency, your vibrational signature. Change who you are, and you automatically change what you receive from the quantum field. So who do you need to become? Let's start with what you need to stop being. You need to stop being the person who waits for external circumstances to change before they feel good. You need to stop being the person who needs validation from others to feel worthy. You need to stop being the person who looks at their bank account or their relationship status or their job title to determine their value. You need to stop being the person who operates from lack, from fear, from the belief that there's not enough, that they're not enough, that life is hard and success requires struggle. All of these identities, these ways of being, are tuned to frequencies that can only create more of what you already have. The person who lives your best year in 2026 is someone who has already decided they are worthy, regardless of any external proof. They wake up knowing they are enough, knowing they are powerful, knowing they are divinely supported. They don't need anything to happen to feel this way. They feel this way first, and then things happen as a result of that feeling. This is the reversal that most people never make. They think I'll feel successful when I achieve success. I'll feel abundant when I have money. I'll feel loved when I find the right person. But it works the opposite way. You must feel successful first, and then success manifests. You must feel abundant first, and then abundance flows. You must feel loved first, and then love appears. This isn't just positive thinking. This is quantum physics. Your feelings, your emotions, are electromagnetic signatures that broadcast into the field. The field responds by organizing reality to match your broadcast. If you're broadcasting lack, limitation, unworthiness, the field says yes and gives you more experiences that make you feel lack, limitation, and unworthiness. If you're broadcasting abundance, possibility, worthiness, the field says yes and gives you more experiences that confirm those feelings. The field doesn't judge. It doesn't decide what you should or shouldn't have. It simply mirrors back whatever you're putting out. So the person you need to become is someone who has mastered their internal state, who has learned to generate elevated emotions independent of external circumstances. This is the most important skill you can develop. Not time management, not goal setting, not networking or marketing or any external skill. The ability to feel the way you want to feel right now, without needing anything to change, is the master skill that unlocks everything else. Because when you can do this, when you can be abundant before you have abundance, successful before you have success, joyful before you have reasons for joy, you change your frequency immediately. And when your frequency changes, your reality has no choice but to change with it. Let me tell you about a study conducted by the HeartMath Institute. They measured the electromagnetic field generated by the human heart and found that it extends several feet outside the body. But more importantly, They discovered that when people consciously generated feelings of gratitude, appreciation, and love, their heart rhythm became highly ordered and coherent. And this coherent heart field didn't just affect the person generating it. It affected people around them. It affected plants. It affected random number generators. It literally changed the physical environment. Your emotional state isn't just internal. It's a broadcast that shapes reality. The person who lives your best year in 2096 understands this and uses it deliberately. They start their day by generating the emotions they want to feel, not by reacting to whatever circumstances present themselves. They choose their state. They choose their frequency. They choose their identity. And they do this before they check their phone, before they look at their to-do list, before they engage with the external world. They establish their internal state first, and then they move through their day from that elevated state, magnetizing experiences that match it. Now let's talk about what this person believes, because your beliefs are the lens through which you perceive reality, and what you perceive, you receive. The person who lives your best year believes that the universe is inherently supportive. They believe that everything is always working out for their highest good, even when they can't see how. They believe that they are worthy of extraordinary things, not because of what they've achieved, but because worthiness is their birthright as a conscious being. They believe that abundance is infinite, that there's more than enough for everyone, that someone else's success doesn't diminish their own possibilities. They believe that they have the power to create their reality, that they're not victims of circumstances, that their thoughts and feelings literally shape their experience. These aren't just nice ideas to think about occasionally. These are core beliefs, operating system-level programming that runs automatically in the background of everything this person does. And here's the key. You can't just think these beliefs. You have to embody them. You have to live from them. You have to make decisions based on them, even when your current circumstances seem to contradict them. This is what faith really means. Not blind belief in something you can't see, but the willingness to act from your desired beliefs even before you have evidence that they're true. The person who lives your best year also has a completely different relationship with time. They don't live in linear time, always focused on the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They live in quantum time, where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. They spend time every single day in the reality of their best year, feeling it, seeing it, experiencing it in their imagination with such vividness that their brain and body can't tell the difference between what they're imagining and what's physically happening. And because the brain doesn't distinguish between a real experience and one that's vividly imagined, they're literally rewiring their neurology to match their desired future, making it more and more inevitable with each practice. This person also understands the power of identity-level change versus behavior-level change. Most people try to change their behaviors, their actions, their habits, while maintaining the same identity underneath. They try to act successful while still seeing themselves as struggling. They try to be generous while still identifying as poor. They try to be confident while still believing they're inadequate. And this creates internal conflict, a divided frequency that cancels itself out. But the person who lives your best year changes at the identity level first. They decide who they are, and then their behaviors naturally flow from that identity without force or willpower. Let me give you a concrete example. Someone who identifies as a struggling entrepreneur will make completely different decisions than someone who identifies as a successful business owner, even if their external circumstances are identical. The struggling entrepreneur will undercharge for their services because that matches their identity. They'll avoid taking risks because struggle and safety go together in their mind. They'll work from desperation which repels opportunities. The successful business owner, even before they have external proof, will charge what they're worth because that matches their identity. They'll take calculated risks because success and growth go together in their mind. They'll work from inspiration, which attracts opportunities. Same circumstances, different identities, different frequencies, different results. So who is the identity you need to step into? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the version of you who is living your best year in 2026. See them clearly. How do they move through the world? How do they speak? How do they make decisions? What do they believe about themselves? What do they know to be true that your current self is still questioning? How do they feel most of the time? What's their relationship with money, with time, with other people, with themselves? Get specific. Get detailed. Because this isn't a fantasy version of you. This is a real version of you that exists right now in a parallel timeline, and you're going to merge with that version by embodying their identity starting today. This future version of you isn't more talented than you are right now. They haven't been given anything you haven't been given. The only difference is their identity, their beliefs, their frequency, their way of being in the world. And here's the profound truth. That version of you already you. It's not someone you need to become through years of hard work. It's someone you already are, underneath the layers of conditioning, limiting beliefs, and old programming. Your work isn't to create a new self. Your work is to remember and return to your true self, the unlimited being you were before the world told you who you should be. The ancient Hermetic principle says, as within, so without. What's inside you creates what's outside you. If you want different external results, you must transform your internal reality first. And your internal reality is made up of three things: your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs. Change these three, and you change everything. But you can't change them by force. You can't think your way into new thoughts, feel your way into new emotions, or believe your way into new beliefs. You change them by choosing a new identity and living from it consistently until the new neural pathways become stronger than the old ones. Neuroscience shows us that it takes about 66 days of consistent practice to form a new habit, to create a new neural pathway that becomes automatic. But here's what most people don't realize. Those 66 days don't have to be perfect. They just have to be consistent. Every time you choose to be the person who lives your best year, even for 5 minutes, even when it feels awkward or forced or fake, you're strengthening that neural pathway. You're making that identity more real. You're tuning your dial closer to that frequency. And eventually it stops being something you're trying to do and starts being something you naturally are. The person who lives your best year also has a different relationship with failure and setbacks. They don't see obstacles as evidence that it's not working or that they're on the wrong path. They see obstacles as feedback, as opportunities to refine their approach, as temporary detours that are ultimately leading them exactly where they need to go. They maintain their identity regardless of external circumstances. They don't let a bad day convince them they're not the person they decided to be. They don't let a setback make them question their worthiness or their power. They stay anchored in their chosen identity, knowing that the external world is just catching up to their internal shift. This unwavering commitment to identity is what separates people who manifest consistently from people who have occasional successes, followed by returns to their default reality. The consistent manifestors understand that transformation is a choice you make every single moment. You don't decide once and then coast. You decide again and again and again. Every morning when you wake up, you choose who you're going to be that day. Every time you face a challenge, you choose whether you'll respond as your old self or your new self. Every time you have a thought that contradicts your chosen identity, you notice it and choose again. This might sound exhausting, like it requires constant vigilance. But here's what actually happens. At first, yes, it requires conscious effort. You have to catch yourself falling into old patterns. You have to deliberately choose new responses. You have to remind yourself of who you decided to be. But over time, through repetition and practice, the new identity becomes automatic. It becomes your default. It becomes who you actually are, not something you're pretending to be. And when that happens, when your new identity becomes your natural state, your external reality transforms so completely that people who knew you before won't recognize you. They'll say you've changed, and you'll smile because you'll know that you didn't change. You simply became who you always were underneath the mask. The person who lives your best year in 2026 is already inside you, not as potential, not as possibility, but as reality, waiting to be activated, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be embodied. Every quality they have, you have. Every capability they possess, you possess. Every frequency they broadcast, you can broadcast. The only difference is that they've made the decision and committed to it fully, while you've been hesitating, waiting for proof, wanting guarantee before you leap. But there is no proof before the leap. The proof comes after. The evidence appears after you embody the identity, not before. So right now, in this moment, I'm asking you to make a choice. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready. Now. Choose who you're going to be for the rest of 2025 and all of 2026. Choose the identity that matches your best year. Choose the frequency that creates your desired reality. And then commit to being that person regardless of what your current circumstances look like, regardless of what other people think, regardless of what your fear-based mind says. Choose it, commit to it, become it, not through force but through constant recommitment, through consistent practice, through unwavering faith in who you truly are. Your best year isn't coming to someone else. It's not reserved for people more talented or more lucky or more deserving than you. It's coming to the version of you that decides to become the person who lives it. That version is waiting. That identity is available. That frequency is accessible. All you have to do is choose it. All you have to do is step into it. All you have to do is be it. And when you do, when you truly embody the identity of someone living their best year, 2026 won't be able to unfold any other way. The universe will have no choice but to match your frequency. Reality will have no choice but to reorganize around your new identity. Your best year will have no choice but to manifest, because that's who you are now. That's who you've chosen to be. And the quantum field always, always, always delivers exactly what you are. Chapter 5. Reprogramming the belief of deserving your best year. There's a hidden program running in your subconscious mind right now that you might not even know exists. It's been there for years, maybe decades, quietly sabotaging every attempt you make to create extraordinary results. It operates below your conscious awareness, which makes it incredibly powerful and incredibly difficult to change. This program is a belief, a deeply embedded conviction that determines what you allow yourself to receive from life. And until you identify it and transform it, nothing else you do will create lasting change. This belief is simple but devastating. It's the belief that you don't deserve your best year, that you don't deserve extraordinary success, that you don't deserve to have things come easily, that you don't deserve to be chosen for blessings and breakthroughs and miraculous outcomes. Before you dismiss this, before you tell yourself that you don't have this belief because you consciously want good things, let me explain how worthiness beliefs actually work. Your conscious mind, the part that thinks and plans and sets goals, that part absolutely believes you deserve good things. That part wants success and happiness and abundance. But your subconscious mind, which operates 95% of your daily thoughts and behaviors, may have completely different programming. And when there's a conflict between conscious desire and subconscious belief, the subconscious always wins. Always. Not because it's more powerful, but because it's automatic, operating beneath your awareness, running the show while you think you're in control. Think about it this way. You can consciously decide you want to earn $1 million this year. You can set that goal, create a vision board, say affirmations every morning. But if deep in your subconscious, there's a belief that says people like you don't make that kind of money, or that having money means you've compromised your values, or that you're not smart enough or talented enough or connected enough to reach that level, your subconscious will sabotage you. It will make you miss opportunities. It will cause you to self-sabotage just as you're about to break through. It will create circumstances that keep you exactly where your subconscious believes you belong. This isn't theory. This is documented science. Researchers studying self-concept and achievement have found that people have what's called a thermostat for success. Just like a thermostat in your home keeps the temperature within a specific range, your internal thermostat keeps your level of success, happiness, and abundance within the range that matches your deepest beliefs about what you deserve. When you start to exceed that range, your subconscious activates mechanisms to bring you back down. When you fall below that range, it activates mechanisms to bring you back up. You're literally locked into a set point determined by your worthiness programming. So where did this programming come from? Most of it was installed in the first 7 years of your life, when your brain was in a predominantly theta wave state. The same brainwave state that hypnosis uses to access the subconscious. During those years, your brain was like a sponge, absorbing everything around you without filters, without critical thinking, without the ability to question what you were taking in. You absorbed beliefs from your parents, your teachers, your community, your culture, your experiences, and many of those beliefs were about worthiness, about what people like you deserve, about how hard you have to work to get good things, about whether the world is abundant or scarce, supportive or hostile. Maybe you heard things like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that, or rich people are greedy, or you have to work hard for everything you get. Maybe you witnessed your parents struggling financially and concluded that struggle is normal, that you're not meant to have it easier than they did. Maybe you were praised only when you achieved things, teaching you that your worth is tied to performance, that you have to earn love and approval through accomplishment. Maybe you experienced rejection or abandonment and concluded that you're not enough, that there's something wrong with you, that you don't deserve to be chosen. These early experiences created neural pathways, belief structures, programs that are still running today, determining what you allow yourself to receive. But here's what you need to understand. Those beliefs aren't truth. They're just programming. They're not facts about reality. They're not evidence of your actual worth. They're simply patterns that were downloaded into your nervous system when you were too young to choose what to accept and what to reject. And just like software on a computer, they can be rewritten, they can be updated, they can be completely replaced with new programming that serves you instead of limiting you. But first, you have to become aware of them. You have to bring them into consciousness. You have to see them clearly so you can choose something different. Let me help you identify where this unworthiness program might be hiding in your life. Look at the areas where you've been stuck, where you keep hitting the same ceiling, where you get close to breakthrough, and then something happens that pulls you back. That's your thermostat activating. That's your subconscious saying this is as far as you're allowed to go. This is all you deserve. Maybe it's in your income. You always seem to make roughly the same amount each year, give or take a little, but you never make the quantum leap you want. Maybe it's in your relationships. You attract the same kind of person over and over, or you sabotage good relationships when they get too close. Maybe it's in your health. You start a program, see results, and then fall back into old patterns right before you reach your goal. These aren't random occurrences. These are your worthiness program protecting you from exceeding your set point. The subconscious doesn't do this to hurt you. It does it to protect you. Your subconscious mind's primary job is to keep you safe, and safety means familiar. If your subconscious learned that struggle is normal, then ease feels dangerous. If it learned that you have to work hard to deserve good things, then receiving without effort feels wrong. If it learned that people like you don't get to have extraordinary lives, then success feels threatening to your identity. So it creates circumstances that keep you in your familiar zone, even if that zone is painful, even if you consciously want something different. Your subconscious would rather keep you safe in familiar suffering than risk the unknown of unfamiliar success. Now let me tell you the most important thing about worthiness. It's not something you earn. It's not something you achieve. It's not something you become worthy of through enough hard work, or good behavior, or spiritual practice. Worthiness is your birthright. You are worthy because you exist. You are worthy because you are a unique expression of infinite consciousness in physical form. You are worthy because the universe doesn't make mistakes. And you are here, which means you're meant to be here, which means you have every right to thrive here. Your worthiness isn't conditional on your achievements, your appearance, your bank account, your relationship status, or any external factor. You were born worthy, and nothing you've done or failed to do has changed that fundamental truth. But here's the challenge. Even if you understand this intellectually, even if you consciously believe it, your subconscious may not. And until your subconscious accepts this truth, until it's programmed at a cellular level, you'll continue to create experiences that reflect unworthiness. You'll continue to settle for less than you want. You'll continue to find reasons why you can't have what others have. You'll continue to be almost there, but not quite. This is why affirmations alone don't work for most people. Saying, "I am worthy," while your subconscious is screaming, "You are not," creates cognitive dissonance that your nervous system has to resolve. And usually it resolves it by proving your subconscious belief correct, by creating circumstances that validate unworthiness. So how do you reprogram this? How do you install new worthiness programming that actually sticks? You do it the same way the original programming was installed, by accessing the subconscious directly, bypassing the critical conscious mind that wants to analyze and question everything. And one of the most powerful times to do this is right before sleep, when your brainwaves naturally slow down from beta to alpha to theta. In theta, you have direct access to your subconscious. The gate is open. The defenses are down. You can install new beliefs the same way a programmer installs new software directly into the operating system. This is why you're listening to this audiobook at night, why you're hearing these words as you drift toward sleep. Every statement about your worthiness, every reminder that you deserve your best year, every affirmation of your inherent value is bypassing your critical mind and going straight into your subconscious. Your conscious mind might try to argue, might bring up past failures as evidence that you don't deserve good things. But as you relax deeper, as your brain waves slow down, that critical voice gets quieter, and your subconscious becomes more receptive to new programming. You're being reprogrammed right now, in this moment, as you listen to these words. Let me give you the new beliefs to install, the truths that will replace the old worthiness programming. Listen to these words, not with your thinking mind, but with your feeling body. Let them sink in. Let them rewire you. I deserve my best year in 2026, not because of what I've achieved, but because I am a worthy expression of life itself. I deserve to receive abundance easily and joyfully, without struggle or sacrifice. I deserve to be chosen for opportunities and blessings that exceed my current expectations. I deserve to have things work out in my favor, to experience synchronicities and miracles, to live in a state of flow and ease. I deserve love, success, health, wealth, joy, and fulfillment, simply because I exist. My worthiness is inherent, unchangeable, and absolute. Notice how you feel as you hear these statements. Notice if there's resistance, if a part of you wants to argue or provide evidence to the contrary. That's your old programming trying to maintain control. Don't fight it. Don't try to force belief. Just acknowledge the resistance and then gently return to the new truth. This is how reprogramming works. You expose yourself repeatedly to the new belief, and each time you do, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen the new one. It's not about believing it fully right away. It's about consistent exposure until the new belief becomes more familiar than the old one. There's a concept in neuroscience called Hebbian learning, which states that neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you think a thought or feel an emotion, specific neurons fire in a specific pattern. The more you repeat that pattern, the stronger the connection becomes, until it becomes automatic, a highway in your brain that your thoughts travel without conscious effort. Your old worthiness beliefs are highways. They're well-traveled, deeply grooved, automatic. But you can build new highways. You build them one repetition at a time, one new thought at a time, one moment of choosing the new belief over the old one. And here's something profound. You don't have to fully believe the new programming for it to work. You just have to expose yourself to it consistently, especially in receptive states like theta. Your subconscious doesn't judge truth the way your conscious mind does. It simply accepts what it's repeatedly exposed to, what it experiences consistently, what matches the emotional frequency you're broadcasting. If you listen to these truths about your worthiness every night as you fall asleep, if you feel into them even when they seem impossible, if you act as if they're true even when your current reality suggests otherwise, you will reprogram your subconscious. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. Think about people you know who seem to have everything work out for them, who always land on their feet, who attract opportunities effortlessly. They're not more talented than you. They're not luckier. They're not more deserving. They simply have different subconscious programming. Deep down, they believe they deserve good things. They expect positive outcomes. They feel worthy of success and abundance, and their external reality reflects that internal belief system. They're not special. They just have more empowering software running in their subconscious, and you can install that same software. You can reprogram yourself to expect goodness, to feel deserving, to know that the universe wants you to thrive. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Sarah. For years, she struggled financially, always making just enough to get by, but never enough to feel secure or free. She tried everything. She read books, attended seminars, worked multiple jobs. But no matter what she did, her income stayed within a narrow range. Then she discovered this concept of worthiness programming. She realized that growing up in poverty, she had internalized the belief that people like her don't get to be wealthy. That financial struggle was her destiny, that she didn't deserve more than her parents had. Once she saw this program clearly, she began the work of reprogramming it. Every night before sleep, she would repeat new beliefs about her worthiness and her right to abundance. Every morning she would visualize herself living prosperously and feel the emotions of that reality. Within 6 months, her income had tripled. Within a year, she had surpassed every financial goal she'd ever set. The external strategies didn't change. Her worthiness programming did, and her reality reorganized itself to match. This same transformation is available to you. Your best year in 2026 isn't reserved for other people. It's not something you have to earn through suffering or sacrifice. It's your birthright, waiting for you to claim it by upgrading your worthiness programming. And the beautiful thing is that worthiness in one area of life tends to spread to other areas. When you begin to feel deserving of financial abundance, that feeling naturally extends to relationships, health, opportunities, experiences. Worthiness is a frequency, and when you embody it, everything in your life elevates to match it. But you have to make a conscious decision to claim this worthiness. You have to stop waiting for external validation, for someone to tell you that you're good enough, smart enough, ready enough. You have to decide right now that you deserve your best year, not because you've proven yourself, but because you are an infinite being having a human experience, and infinite beings deserve infinite possibilities. You have to override the old programming that says you have to earn it, deserve it, work yourself to exhaustion for it. You have to install new programming that says you are worthy now, in this moment, exactly as you are, and your best year is not something you earn, but something you allow by believing you deserve it. Your subconscious is listening right now. It's taking in these words. It's beginning to recognize that the old programming doesn't serve you anymore, that it was based on other people's limitations and fears, not on truth about who you really are. With every night you listen to this message, with every moment you choose to feel worthy, even without evidence, with every decision you make from a place of deserving rather than lack, you're rewiring yourself. You're building new neural pathways. You're changing your set point. You're expanding what you allow yourself to receive. And here's what will happen as this new programming takes hold. You'll start noticing opportunities you would have missed before. You'll find yourself saying yes to things that your old self would have talked you out of. You'll attract people and circumstances that reflect your new worthiness frequency. You'll feel less need to prove yourself because you'll know your worth isn't up for debate. You'll take up space, speak up, ask for what you want without apologizing. You'll stop settling for less than you desire because settling won't match your new internal state. You'll naturally gravitate toward experiences, people, and opportunities that honor your worthiness, and you'll naturally move away from anything that doesn't. This is the shift that makes everything else possible. You can learn all the manifestation techniques in the world, visualize perfectly, take inspired action. But if underneath it all you don't believe you deserve your best year, you'll find ways to sabotage yourself right before you break through. Your worthiness is the foundation. Build it strong, and everything else becomes easier. Build it solid, and your manifestations become inevitable. Build it unshakable, and 2026 will have no choice but to unfold as the best year of your life. Because that's what someone with your level of worthiness naturally experiences. So as you drift deeper into relaxation, as your conscious mind releases its grip and your subconscious opens to receive, I want you to accept this truth fully. You deserve your best year. You deserve it not because of what you'll do or who you'll become, but because of what you already are. You are a divine being, worthy of miracles, deserving of abundance, meant to thrive. This is not arrogance. This is not entitlement. This is simply recognizing the truth of your existence. You are here, which means you are meant to be here, which means you have every right to experience the fullness of life's possibilities. Your worthiness is not up for debate. It's not conditional. It's absolute. Accept it, claim it, embody it, and watch as your reality transforms to reflect this fundamental truth. You deserve your best year, and your best year deserves you. Chapter 6. The emotional magnetism that attracts extraordinary opportunities. Your emotions are not just internal experiences. They are not simply reactions to what happens around you. Your emotions are the most powerful creative force you possess. They are electromagnetic broadcasts that extend beyond your body, into the quantum field, literally attracting people, circumstances, and opportunities that match their frequency. This is not metaphor. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is measurable, documented science. And when you understand how to cultivate specific emotional states deliberately, independent of external circumstances, you gain access to a level of manifestation power that most people never even know exists. Let me be very clear about what I'm saying. The opportunities you want, the breakthroughs you desire, the extraordinary experiences you dream about, they already exist in the quantum field as possibilities. They're not somewhere far away that you need to chase. They're right here, right now, existing as waves of potential, waiting to collapse into your physical reality. And the mechanism that causes them to collapse, to materialize, to show up in your actual life, is your emotional frequency. When your emotional state matches the frequency of those desired experiences, you become a magnet for them. They are drawn to you, not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because that's how the physics of reality works. Like frequencies attract. Most people have this completely backwards. They wait for good things to happen so they can feel good. They think I'll feel excited when I get the opportunity. I'll feel abundant when I have money. I'll feel loved when I meet the right person. I'll feel successful when I achieve my goals. But the universe doesn't work in that sequence. The universe responds to what you're feeling now, in this moment, and brings you more experiences that match that feeling. If you're waiting to feel good until after something happens, you're broadcasting the frequency of waiting, of lack, of not having. And the universe says yes to that frequency and gives you more waiting, more lack, more not having. The people who seem to have magic in their lives, who attract opportunities effortlessly, who are always in the right place at the right time, they've figured out the secret. They feel the emotions of their desired reality before it manifests. They generate elevated emotional states, not because their circumstances warrant it, but because they understand that their emotional state creates their circumstances. They wake up feeling abundant before they check their bank account. They feel successful before they achieve visible results. They feel grateful for what's coming as if it's already here. And because they're broadcasting those frequencies consistently, the quantum field reorganizes reality to match. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities multiply. Doors open that seemed locked before. This is what I mean by emotional magnetism. It's the deliberate cultivation of elevated emotions that act as a frequency beacon, calling your desires to you. And the most powerful emotions for manifestation are gratitude, joy, love, inspiration, wonder, excitement, and appreciation. These emotions don't just feel good. They change your physiology, alter your brain chemistry, and create coherent electromagnetic fields that broadcast into the quantum field with clarity and power. When you're in these states, you're literally becoming a different person energetically. You're shifting your vibration. And when your vibration shifts, what you attract shifts automatically. The HeartMath Institute has done extensive research on this. They've measured the electromagnetic field of the heart and discovered that it's 5,000 times stronger than the electromagnetic field of the brain. Your heart generates a torus-shaped field that extends several feet outside your body in all directions. And this field changes dramatically based on your emotional state. When you're feeling stress, anxiety, fear, or frustration, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic and incoherent. The electromagnetic signal you're broadcasting is scattered, confusing, weak. But when you're feeling gratitude, love, joy, or appreciation, your heart rhythm becomes highly ordered, coherent, harmonious. The electromagnetic signal becomes clear, powerful, far-reaching. And here's what's remarkable. That coherent heart field doesn't just exist in isolation. It interacts with other people's fields. It affects the environment around you. Studies have shown that when one person in a room generates heart coherence through elevated emotions, other people in the room unconsciously begin to entrain to that frequency. Their heart rhythms start to synchronize. Their nervous systems begin to regulate. They feel better without knowing why. This is how you affect reality, not just through your actions, but through your state of being. You become a tuning fork that helps everything around you come into harmony with your frequency. But emotional magnetism goes deeper than affecting the people in your immediate environment. It reaches into the quantum field itself, into the realm of infinite possibilities. Quantum physicists have demonstrated that consciousness affects matter at the subatomic level. The observer effect shows that the act of observation collapses waves of probability into particles of reality. But it's not just observation. It's observation combined with expectation, with emotional charge, with focused attention. When you observe a desired outcome, while feeling the emotions of that outcome as if it's already real, you're not just passively hoping. You're actively collapsing the wave function. You're pulling that possibility from the invisible realm into the visible one. Think about it this way. The quantum field contains all possibilities simultaneously. Every version of your life, every potential outcome, every possible future exists there as a probability wave. When you think about your best year in 2026, while feeling mediocre or doubtful or resigned, you're collapsing the wave function into a mediocre version of 2026. But when you think about your best year while feeling absolute certainty, joy, excitement, gratitude, you're collapsing it into an extraordinary version. Same thought, different emotion, completely different result. Your emotion is the key that unlocks specific timelines from the field of infinite possibilities. This is why affirmations without emotional charge don't work. Saying I am abundant while feeling poor creates a mixed signal. Your words are broadcasting one frequency, while your emotions are broadcasting the opposite. The quantum field receives contradictory instructions and ends up giving you more of what you're feeling rather than what you're saying. But when your words and emotions align, when you say, "I am abundant," while genuinely feeling the expansiveness, the relief, the joy of abundance. Now you're broadcasting a coherent signal. Now the field knows exactly what to deliver. Now manifestation becomes inevitable. So how do you generate these elevated emotions deliberately, especially when your current circumstances don't seem to justify them? This is the most important skill you can develop. This is what separates master manifestors from people who struggle. Master manifestors don't wait for circumstances to change before they change their emotional state. They change their emotional state first, and then watch as circumstances reorganize to match. They've learned to use their imagination, their memory, their vision of the future as emotional fuel. They've discovered that their nervous system doesn't distinguish between a real experience and one that's vividly imagined, so they can generate real emotions from imagined scenarios. Let me teach you how this works. Your brain and body respond to your thoughts as if they're real experiences. When you vividly imagine something, your brain fires the same neurons it would fire if that thing were actually happening. When you recall a powerful memory, you recreate the emotional state you felt during that memory. This means you have the power to generate any emotional state you want at any time, simply by directing your attention deliberately. You're not at the mercy of external circumstances. You're not dependent on good things happening to feel good. You can choose your emotional state through the power of focused attention and vivid imagination. Here's a specific practice you can use. Though remember, this isn't an interruption to your listening experience. Let this information sink in naturally as you continue to relax. Close your eyes and imagine your best year in 2026 as if it's already happening. Don't just think about it. Experience it. See yourself in that reality. What are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with? What does your environment look like? Get specific with the details. Now, and this is the crucial part, feel the emotions of that reality. Feel the joy of living your purpose. Feel the gratitude for abundance flowing freely. Feel the love in your relationships. Feel the pride in your accomplishments. Feel the peace of knowing everything is working out. Feel the excitement of new opportunities arriving. Don't just observe these emotions. Generate them in your body right now. Let them flood through you. Let them become real in this moment, even though you're imagining a future scenario. When you do this, something profound happens in your neurology. Your brain begins to create new neural networks that correspond to your imagined reality. It doesn't wait until that reality manifests to build the circuits. It builds them now, based on your vivid imagination and the emotions you're generating. You're literally installing the neurological hardware for your future experience before that experience occurs. And once that hardware is installed, your brain begins to seek out ways to make the external reality match the internal experience. It notices opportunities you would have missed. It generates ideas you wouldn't have thought of. It motivates behaviors that move you toward your vision. Your brain becomes a powerful ally in manifestation, working tirelessly to close the gap between your current reality and your imagined one. But here's what most people do wrong. They imagine their desired future for a few minutes, generate some nice feelings, and then spend the rest of their day in survival mode, stress, worry, complaining about their current circumstances. They give 5 minutes to elevated emotions and 16 waking hours to contracted emotions, and they wonder why their 5 minutes of visualization didn't manifest anything. The quantum field doesn't respond to occasional positive thoughts. It responds to your dominant frequency, your most consistent emotional state. If you're elevated for 5 minutes and contracted for the rest of the day, Your dominant frequency is contraction, and that's what you'll keep creating. This is why building emotional magnetism requires practice, consistency, daily devotion. You're training yourself to maintain elevated states for longer and longer periods. You're reconditioning your nervous system to operate from joy, gratitude, and love as your baseline rather than as rare peaks. At first, this feels difficult because your old patterns are strong. You might generate elevated emotions in the morning and find yourself back in stress by mid-afternoon. That's normal. That's expected. But each time you notice you've dropped into a lower frequency and consciously choose to elevate again, you're strengthening the new pattern. You're building the muscle of emotional sovereignty. You're proving to yourself that you don't need external circumstances to dictate your internal state. Think about someone training for a marathon. The first time they run, they might only last a few minutes before they're exhausted, but they don't quit. They keep training, and slowly their stamina increases. They can run longer, faster, with less effort. Eventually, running becomes natural, effortless, enjoyable. Your emotional training works the same way. At first, maintaining elevated states feels forced, artificial, exhausting. But with consistent practice, it becomes easier. The elevated state becomes more familiar than the contracted state, and eventually joy becomes your default. Gratitude becomes automatic. Love becomes your natural frequency. And when that happens, when elevated emotion becomes your baseline, your entire life transforms because you're broadcasting a completely different signal into the quantum field every single moment. Let me tell you about a man I'll call David. He had been trying to grow his business for years with minimal success. He worked long hours, implemented every strategy, networked constantly. But growth was slow and frustrating. Then he learned about emotional magnetism. He realized he'd been operating from stress, fear, and desperation. He was so focused on what wasn't working that he was broadcasting lack constantly. So he changed his approach. Instead of starting his workday by checking emails and diving into problems, he spent the first hour generating elevated emotions. He visualized his business thriving, felt gratitude for clients he hadn't even met yet, experienced the joy of financial freedom before it manifested. He maintained this elevated state as much as possible throughout his day, returning to it whenever he noticed himself contracting into stress. Within 3 months, everything shifted. A chance conversation led to a partnership opportunity. A client he'd worked with years ago suddenly referred 5 new clients. A marketing approach he'd tried before suddenly started generating significant results. David didn't change his external strategies much. He changed his emotional frequency, and his external reality reorganized to match. His business doubled in 6 months, tripled in a year. But more importantly, the journey became joyful instead of stressful. Opportunities came easily instead of through grinding effort. He had discovered that emotional state isn't just about feeling good. It's the actual mechanism through which you create your reality. This same transformation is available to you. Your best year in 2026 isn't going to come from working harder, from having better strategies, from knowing the right people, though those things can help. It's going to come from broadcasting the emotional frequency that matches that best year. And you can start broadcasting that frequency right now. You don't have to wait until January. You don't have to wait until your circumstances improve. You can generate the emotions of your best year while you're still living your current year. And when you do, when you maintain those elevated emotions consistently, the quantum field has no choice but to deliver experiences that match your broadcast. The opportunities you desire are already seeking you, but they can only find you if your emotional frequency matches them. If you're broadcasting fear, they can't lock on to your signal. If you're broadcasting doubt, they pass you by. If you're broadcasting lack, they go to someone else who's broadcasting abundance. But when you elevate your frequency, when you become emotionally magnetic through consistent cultivation of joy, gratitude, love, and excitement, you become visible to those opportunities. You become a beacon that they're drawn to. You become a match for the extraordinary, and the extraordinary becomes inevitable in your experience. Think about a radio station. It's broadcasting 24 hours a day, but you can only hear it if your radio is tuned to the right frequency. Opportunities are broadcasting constantly in the quantum field, but you can only receive them if your emotional frequency matches. You are the radio. Your emotions are your tuning dial, and right now, through the practice of deliberately generating elevated states, you're tuning yourself to the frequency where your best year lives, where extraordinary opportunities exist, where synchronicities are common and miracles are natural. So make the commitment right now. Decide that you will spend time every single day generating the emotions of your best year, not thinking about it, not planning for it, but feeling it, experiencing it in your body as if it's already real. Start with 5 minutes if that's all you can sustain, but do it every day, without exception, and gradually extend the time as your capacity grows. Feel gratitude for things that haven't happened yet. Feel joy about a future that hasn't manifested. Feel love for the life you're creating before it appears. This isn't fake positivity. This isn't denying reality. This is understanding that your emotional state is creating your reality, and you're choosing to create from elevation rather than contraction. And notice what happens. Notice how opportunities begin to appear more frequently. Notice how the right people show up at the right time. Notice how solutions to problems arrive seemingly out of nowhere. Notice how doors open that you didn't even know existed. Notice how life starts to feel more synchronistic, more magical, more aligned. These aren't coincidences. These are the natural results of emotional magnetism. You're broadcasting a clear, coherent, powerful frequency, and the quantum field is responding by delivering experiences that match. You're not manipulating reality. You're aligning with the way reality actually works. You're cooperating with the laws of the universe rather than unconsciously working against them. Your emotional state is not a luxury. It's not something to pay attention to only when you have time or when everything is going well. It's the foundation of your creative power. It's the language the quantum field speaks. It's the frequency that determines what shows up in your life. Master your emotional state, and you master your destiny. Become emotionally magnetic, and your best year becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The field is listening. Your frequency is broadcasting, and opportunities that match your elevation are already making their way to you. All you have to do is maintain the frequency. All you have to do is stay in the elevated state. All you have to do is keep feeling the emotions of your best year, and your best year will have no choice but to manifest. This is law. This is how it works. This is how you become the attractor of extraordinary opportunities. This is how 2026 becomes the year everything changes. Chapter 7. Creating Your Future. Now through advanced visualization. Your brain is creating your future in this exact moment. Not tomorrow. Not when you get around to it. Right now. The question is whether you're creating it consciously or unconsciously. Whether you're directing your brain toward the future you desire, or allowing it to simply replay the patterns of your past. Because here's what neuroscience has proven beyond any doubt. Your brain cannot tell the difference between something that's actually happening in your physical environment and something that you're vividly imagining. When you visualize an experience with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain fires the same neural networks, releases the same chemicals, and creates the same biological changes as if that experience were physically real. This means you can literally rehearse your future in your mind, and your brain will treat that rehearsal as lived experience. This isn't theory. This isn't wishful thinking. This is documented science that's been studied in laboratories around the world. Researchers have done experiments where they had people physically practice a piano piece while scanning their brains, then had other people only imagine practicing that same piece, and the brain scans showed nearly identical neural activity. The people who only imagined practicing developed almost the same neural networks as the people who physically practiced. Athletes have been using this for decades. They visualize their performance in vivid detail before competition, and their brains create the neural pathways for that perfect performance before they ever step onto the field. They've already won in their neurology before they win in physical reality. You can do the same thing with your life. You can rehearse your best year in 2026 so vividly, so consistently, that your brain begins to believe it's already happened. And when your brain believes something is real, it begins to automatize the thoughts, behaviors, and choices that align with that reality. You don't have to consciously figure out every action to take. Your brain, having rehearsed the future repeatedly, begins to guide you naturally toward that future, noticing opportunities, generating ideas, motivating behaviors that bring your visualization into physical manifestation. This is how visualization becomes creation. This is how imagination becomes reality. But most people visualize wrong. They think about what they want for a few minutes with weak, generic images and minimal emotion. Then they return to their default state of worrying about their current problems. They give their desired future 5 minutes of attention and their current reality 5 hours of attention. And they wonder why visualization doesn't work for them. Visualization only works when it's done with specific principles that neuroscience has identified as essential for creating new neural networks. You need sensory richness, emotional intensity, repetition, and a clear first-person perspective where you're experiencing the visualization from inside your future self, not watching it from outside like a movie. Let me teach you how to visualize in a way that actually rewires your brain. First, you need to choose a specific scene from your best year in 2026, not the entire year. Not a vague sense of things being better. One specific moment that represents the fulfillment of your desires. Maybe it's waking up in your dream home. Maybe it's celebrating a business milestone. Maybe it's a moment of deep connection with someone you love. Maybe it's looking at your bank account and feeling completely secure. Choose one scene that you can experience fully, that contains within it the essence of what your best year means to you. This becomes your anchor, your neurological bookmark for the future you're creating. Now, when you visualize this scene, you need to engage all of your senses. See the details. What colors are present? What's the lighting like? What are you wearing? Who else is there? Don't just have a fuzzy, general image. Make it high definition. Make it vivid. Make it so detailed that you could describe it to someone else, and they could see exactly what you're seeing. Then add sound. What are you hearing? Is there music, conversation, nature sounds, the hum of a city, silence? Make the auditory landscape as rich as the visual one. Then add feeling. What textures are you experiencing? What temperature is the air? What physical sensations are in your body? Are you sitting, standing, moving? The more senses you engage, the more real it becomes to your brain, and the more neural networks you activate. But here's the most important part. You must generate the emotions of that scene, as if it's happening right now. Not the emotions you'll feel when it happens. The emotions as if it's happening. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the excitement, the peace, the pride, the love, whatever emotions that scene generates in you. Feel them fully in your body in this present moment. Let them wash through you. Let them become real. Your brain doesn't care whether the stimulus for those emotions is external or internal. It only knows that these specific emotions are being felt, and it begins to associate those emotions with your new reality, strengthening the neural networks that correspond to your vision. This is where most people fail. They visualize from a place of longing, from a place of wanting, from a place of, I hope this happens someday. And longing is the emotion of lack. Wanting is the frequency of not having. Hoping is the energy of uncertainty. When you visualize from these emotions, you're actually reinforcing the neural networks of lack, not abundance. You're telling your brain, this isn't real yet. This is something I'm missing. This is far away from me. And your brain says, okay, I'll keep it far away. I'll maintain this gap between where you are and where you want to be, because that's the instruction you're giving me through your emotional state. Instead, you need to visualize from the emotion of already having, of gratitude for what's present, of celebration for what's accomplished. You need to trick your brain in the most powerful way possible into believing that your desired future is your current reality. And when you do this consistently, when you rehearse this new reality daily with full sensory engagement and elevated emotion, something extraordinary happens. Your brain begins to prune away the neural networks associated with your old reality and strengthen the networks associated with your new one. You literally become a different person, neurologically, and that different person naturally thinks different thoughts, makes different choices, takes different actions, and creates different results. There's a concept in neuroscience called mental rehearsal, and it's been studied extensively in the context of skill acquisition and performance enhancement. What researchers have found is that mental rehearsal, when done correctly, can produce up to 2/3 the performance improvement of actual physical practice. This means that just by visualizing, just by mentally rehearsing, you can make massive progress toward your goals without taking any external action. Now imagine combining mental rehearsal with physical action. Imagine spending time every day rehearsing your best year in vivid detail, while also taking inspired action in the physical world. The two work synergistically, multiplying your results exponentially. But there's an even deeper level to this. When you visualize your future with elevated emotion, you're not just changing your neurology. You're also sending a powerful signal into the quantum field. Remember, the quantum field contains all possibilities as waves of probability. When you combine focused attention with elevated emotion, you're collapsing those waves into particles, into actual events in space and time. Your visualization isn't just preparing you to recognize opportunities when they appear. It's literally calling those opportunities into existence by collapsing the probability waves that contain them. This is how consciousness creates reality. This is how your imagination becomes the template for your physical experience. Ancient mystics understood this. They used visualization practices to manifest everything from healing to abundance to spiritual experiences. The Tibetan Buddhists have elaborate visualization practices where they construct entire worlds in their imagination with such detail and consistency that those worlds become as real to their consciousness as the physical world. The Egyptian priests visualized themselves as gods, embodying divine qualities so completely that those qualities manifested in their lives. These weren't superstitions. These were technologies of consciousness, methods for deliberately shaping reality through the power of focused imagination combined with elevated emotion. You have access to this same technology. You don't need special training. You don't need to be more spiritual or more gifted. You just need to understand the principles and apply them consistently. And the principle is simple. Visualize what you want with sensory richness. Feel the emotions of having it as if it's already real. Repeat this practice daily until your brain accepts it as truth, and watch as your external reality begins to match your internal vision. The timeline from visualization to manifestation varies depending on how consistently you practice and how aligned your beliefs are with your vision. But the manifestation itself is inevitable when you follow these principles correctly. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Maria. She had been stuck in a career that drained her, making barely enough money to survive, seeing no path forward. She felt trapped, hopeless, resigned to a life of struggle. Then she learned about advanced visualization. She chose a specific scene, herself sitting at a desk in a bright, beautiful office, working on projects she loved, feeling energized and fulfilled, seeing a bank statement showing more money than she'd ever made. She visualized this scene every morning for 20 minutes before starting her day. She engaged all her senses. She felt the leather of the chair, saw the sunlight streaming through the windows, heard the quiet hum of purposeful work, smelled fresh coffee, and most importantly, she felt the deep satisfaction and gratitude of doing meaningful work and being well compensated for it. At first, nothing changed in her external reality. She was still in the same draining job, still making the same limited income, but she kept visualizing, and slowly, something shifted inside her. She started having ideas she wouldn't have had before. She noticed opportunities she would have missed. She felt motivated to take actions that her old self would have talked herself out of. Within 3 months, a former colleague reached out with a job opportunity. Within 6 months, she was working in almost the exact office she'd been visualizing, doing work she loved, making double her previous income. Her external reality caught up to her internal rehearsal. Her brain had been creating her future through daily visualization, and eventually, the physical world had no choice but to reflect what she'd been consistently broadcasting neurologically and energetically. This same process is available to you right now. You don't have to wait for circumstances to improve before you start visualizing your best year. In fact, you need to start now, especially if your circumstances aren't ideal, because your visualization is what will change those circumstances. Your current reality is the result of your past thinking, your past emotions, your past visualizations, whether conscious or unconscious. Your future reality will be the result of what you're thinking, feeling, and visualizing right now. This is your power. This is your creative authority. This is how you step out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat of your life. So here's what I want you to do, not as an exercise that interrupts your listening, but as a natural integration as you continue to relax deeper. Allow yourself to drift into your chosen scene from 2026. See it clearly. Make it vivid. Add layers of sensory detail. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel physically? What do you smell? What do you taste? Build the scene in your imagination with such richness that it becomes more real than the room you're currently in. And then, this is crucial, step fully into that scene. Don't watch yourself from outside. Be yourself in that moment. Look through those eyes. Experience it from the first-person perspective. Feel what that future you is feeling. The joy, the gratitude, the peace, the excitement, the fulfillment. Let those emotions flood through your body right now. And as you do this, as you immerse yourself in this future reality, know that your brain is responding. Neurons are firing in patterns they've never fired before. New synaptic connections are forming. Neural networks corresponding to your old reality are weakening, while networks corresponding to your new reality are strengthening. You are literally becoming a different person neurologically in this moment. The person who lives your best year in 2026 is being created right now, not in the future. And the more you repeat this practice, the more that future person becomes your present person, until there's no longer a gap between who you are and who you're becoming. They merge, they become one. And when that happens, your best year becomes inevitable because you're already living as the person who experiences it. This is not passive wishing. This is not fantasy. This is active creation. This is you using the most powerful technology available to human beings, the technology of consciousness combined with neuroscience, to deliberately shape your reality. Every time you visualize your desired future with full sensory engagement and elevated emotion, you're sending ripples into the quantum field, collapsing probability waves, attracting opportunities, preparing your neurology, and aligning your energy with the reality you're creating. You're not waiting for 2026 to arrive and hoping it's good. You're constructing it now, in your imagination, in your emotions, in your neural networks, and by the time January 1st comes, you'll already be living it internally, which means you'll be ready to receive it externally. The key is consistency. You can't visualize once and expect everything to change. You need to make this a daily practice as essential as eating or sleeping. Every morning before you engage with the external world, spend time in your future. Rehearse it, feel it, experience it. Let it become more real than your current circumstances, and then carry that elevated state with you throughout your day. Don't visualize for 15 minutes and then worry for 15 hours. Stay connected to the feeling of your visualization. Return to it throughout the day. Let it inform your choices, your conversations, your actions. Live from your future, not from your past. Make decisions the way your future self would make them. Respond to challenges the way someone living their best year would respond. Gradually, imperceptibly at first, your external reality will begin to shift to match your internal rehearsal. And here's something important to understand. You might not see immediate physical changes. The quantum field works in its own timing. Seeds planted today don't become visible plants tomorrow. But the work is happening beneath the surface. Neural networks are forming. Energy is shifting. Opportunities are being attracted. Synchronicities are being orchestrated. Trust the process. Trust that your visualization is working, even when you can't see evidence yet. This is faith, not in some external deity, but in the laws of neuroscience and quantum physics that govern how consciousness creates reality. These laws are as reliable as gravity. When you follow them correctly, they produce results every time, without exception. So commit to this practice. Commit to visualizing your best year every single day between now and 2026. Make it non-negotiable. Make it sacred. Make it the foundation of your day. And watch what unfolds. Watch how opportunities appear that match your vision. Watch how synchronicities multiply. Watch how you naturally take actions you wouldn't have taken before. Watch how obstacles that seemed insurmountable suddenly dissolve. Watch how your external reality gradually, then suddenly, reorganizes itself to match what you've been consistently rehearsing in your imagination. This is not magic. This is science. This is technology. This is how you become the conscious creator of your reality instead of the unconscious victim of circumstance. This is how visualization becomes manifestation. This is how your imagination creates your future. This is how 2026 becomes not just your best year, but the year you proved to yourself that you are, and have always been, the author of your own story. Your brain is ready. The quantum field is listening. Your future is waiting. All you have to do is see it clearly, feel it deeply, and rehearse it daily until it becomes your reality. Chapter 8. Total Alignment. When thought, emotion, and action become one. There is a state of being that most people experience only in brief flashes, if at all. It's a state where everything inside you is moving in the same direction, where there's no internal conflict, no contradiction between what you think and what you feel and what you do. In this state, you become a unified field of coherent energy, broadcasting a single clear frequency into the quantum field with such power and precision that reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around you. This state is called coherence, and it's the secret that separates people who manifest consistently from people who struggle. When you achieve total alignment, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions become one unified force, you don't just attract what you want. You become irresistible to it. Let me explain what I mean by coherence. In physics, coherence refers to waves that are perfectly synchronized, all peaks and valleys aligned, all moving in the same direction. When waves are coherent, they amplify each other. They become exponentially more powerful than individual waves. Laser light is coherent light, and that's why a laser can cut through steel, while regular light just illuminates. Same photons, but organized coherently, they become a force capable of transforming matter. You are the same way. When all parts of you are aligned, when your conscious thoughts, subconscious beliefs, emotional state, and physical actions are all synchronized, you become a force capable of transforming reality. But most people live in complete incoherence. They think one thing, feel another thing, believe something else entirely, and act in ways that contradict all of it. They think I want abundance while feeling scared about money, while believing deep down that they don't deserve wealth, while taking actions that keep them broke. They're broadcasting contradictory signals simultaneously, and the quantum field, receiving these mixed messages, doesn't know what to deliver. It's like ordering a meal and saying, I want pizza. No, wait, I want salad. Actually, maybe pasta. But I don't deserve food anyway. The server would be completely confused. The quantum field responds the same way to incoherent signals. It either delivers nothing or delivers more of the same confusion and contradiction you're broadcasting. Coherence requires brutal self-honesty. You have to look at where your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions are misaligned and consciously bring them into harmony. If you want financial abundance, you need to think abundant thoughts, feel abundant emotions, believe you deserve abundance, and take actions that someone with abundance would take. All four must match. If even one is out of alignment, you create drag on your manifestation. You're like a car trying to drive forward while the emergency brake is still engaged. You might move, but slowly, with tremendous effort, and not nearly as far as you could if you just released the brake. The first step to achieving coherence is identifying where you're incoherent. Most people aren't aware of their contradictions because they've become so normalized, so automatic, that they're invisible. But your external results will always show you where you're incoherent. Look at the areas of your life that aren't working, where you feel stuck, where you keep experiencing the same frustrating patterns. Those areas are mirrors reflecting your internal contradictions. If you keep attracting financial struggle despite wanting abundance, there's incoherence somewhere. Maybe you think you want money, but you feel guilty about having it. Maybe you believe you deserve it, but your actions don't align with someone who's managing abundance. Maybe you're taking right actions, but your emotional state is one of desperation rather than trust. Once you identify the incoherence, you have to choose which frequency you're committing to and then bring everything else into alignment with that choice. Let's say you've identified that you want to create financial abundance in 2026. That's your chosen frequency. Now you have to audit your thoughts. Are they thoughts of abundance or lack? Do you think about what you want to create or what you're afraid of losing? Do you focus on opportunities or obstacles? Your thoughts need to match your desired frequency. Every time you catch yourself thinking from lack, you consciously redirect to abundance, not by denying reality, but by focusing on possibilities rather than limitations, on what's working rather than what's broken, on where you're going rather than where you've been. Then you audit your emotions. What are you feeling most of the time? Are you feeling the emotions of abundance or scarcity, gratitude or resentment, trust or fear, excitement or anxiety? Your emotional state needs to match your desired frequency. This doesn't mean forcing fake positivity. It means generating authentic, elevated emotions by connecting to your vision, by focusing on what you're creating, by feeling gratitude for what's coming, as if it's already here. When you notice yourself in lower frequency emotions, you don't judge yourself. You simply recognize it and consciously elevate. You choose a better feeling thought. You shift your focus. You remember your vision and let that shift your state. Next, you audit your beliefs. What do you actually believe about money, about yourself, about what's possible for you? Not what you say you believe, but what you truly believe at the subconscious level. Your beliefs reveal themselves in your automatic thoughts, your habitual patterns, your default assumptions. If you find yourself assuming things will be hard, that's a belief. If you catch yourself thinking people like me don't get those opportunities, that's a belief. If you feel uncomfortable imagining yourself wealthy, that's a belief working against you. These beliefs need to be identified and reprogrammed, which happens through the practices we've already discussed, through repetition, through visualization, through consistently choosing new thoughts until they become new beliefs. Finally, you audit your actions. What are you actually doing with your time, your energy, your resources? Are your actions aligned with someone creating abundance or someone stuck in scarcity? Do you invest in yourself or only spend on immediate survival? Do you take calculated risks or always play it safe? Do you show up with excellence or just get by? Do you surround yourself with people who think abundantly or people who complain about lack? Your actions are the physical expression of your internal state. When your actions align with your desired reality, you complete the circuit of coherence. You become a unified field, broadcasting a single clear message, and manifestation becomes exponential. But here's where it gets really interesting. Coherence isn't just about aligning different parts of yourself. It's about achieving coherence between your personal energy field and the larger fields around you. The Earth has an electromagnetic field. The Sun has a field. The galaxy has a field. And there are specific times when these fields align in ways that make manifestation easier, when the energetic support for transformation is amplified. We're in one of those periods right now, approaching 2026. The cosmic conditions are favorable. The collective consciousness is rising. The fields are aligning. And when you achieve personal coherence during a time of cosmic alignment, you're surfing a wave that's exponentially more powerful than anything you could create alone. HeartMath Institute research has shown that when you achieve heart coherence, when your heart rhythm becomes ordered and harmonious through elevated emotions, that coherence affects your entire physiology. Your brain waves synchronize with your heart rhythm. Your nervous system regulates. Your immune system strengthens. Your cognitive function improves. But it doesn't stop there. Your coherent heart field begins to affect the people around you. They unconsciously entrain to your frequency. Their nervous systems begin to regulate in response to yours. You literally become a force for coherence in your environment, not through what you say or do, but simply through your state of being. Now imagine taking this a step further. Imagine achieving coherence not just in your heart, but in your entire being. Thoughts coherent with your vision. Emotions coherent with your desired reality. Beliefs coherent with your worthiness. Actions coherent with your goals. When you achieve this total alignment, you become what ancient traditions called an awakened being, someone operating from unified consciousness rather than fragmented ego. You stop being pulled in different directions by conflicting desires, contradictory beliefs, and unconscious patterns. You become a singular force, a coherent wave of consciousness moving powerfully toward your intended reality. This is what it means to be in flow. You've probably experienced it at some point, those rare moments when everything clicks, when you're completely present, when action flows effortlessly, when time seems to disappear, when you're performing at your peak. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it inspiration. Spiritual seekers call it presence. But it's all the same thing. It's coherence. It's all parts of you aligned and moving in harmony. And what most people don't realize is that flow isn't random. It's not something that happens to you occasionally if you're lucky. It's a state you can learn to access deliberately by cultivating coherence. The practice of achieving coherence is simple, but requires consistency. Every morning you take time to align yourself. You connect to your vision of your best year in 2026. You think thoughts that match that vision. You generate emotions that match that reality. You remind yourself of beliefs that support your worthiness and capability. And you commit to actions that someone living that reality would take. You do this alignment practice until you feel it in your body, until you feel the shift from scattered to focused, from conflicted to unified, from incoherent to coherent. And then you carry that coherent state into your day. Throughout the day, you check in with yourself. Am I still coherent? Are my thoughts aligned with my vision, or have I slipped back into old patterns? Are my emotions elevated, or have I contracted into stress and worry? Are my actions purposeful, or am I just reacting unconsciously? When you notice incoherence, and you will because old patterns are strong, you don't judge yourself. You simply realign. You take a breath. You reconnect to your vision. You choose a better thought. You shift your emotional state. You adjust your action. You bring yourself back into coherence. Over and over throughout the day, you practice alignment. And each time you do, you strengthen the neural pathways of coherence until it becomes your natural state. Let me tell you about a man I'll call James. He had a vision of building a successful company that would give him both financial freedom and the ability to make a positive impact. He worked hard for years, but success eluded him. He was stuck in a pattern of near misses and frustrating setbacks. Then he learned about coherence. He realized that while he thought he wanted success, he felt unworthy of it. While he took some right actions, his underlying beliefs were that people from his background don't become wealthy. While he visualized success, his emotions were predominantly fear and scarcity. He was completely incoherent, broadcasting contradictory signals that kept him locked in struggle. So James committed to achieving coherence. Every morning he would align his thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and intended actions. He would visualize his successful company while feeling the gratitude and joy of that reality. He would affirm his worthiness and capability. He would plan his day from the mindset of someone who was already successful. And throughout the day, whenever he noticed incoherence, he would pause and realign. Within 6 months, everything changed. He attracted a key partner he'd been trying to connect with for years. He landed a major client that transformed his revenue. Opportunities that had seemed impossible suddenly opened up. His company grew faster in those 6 months than in the previous 3 years combined. The difference wasn't new strategies or better skills. The difference was coherence. He had become a unified field broadcasting a clear, powerful frequency, and reality had no choice but to match it. This same transformation is available to you. Your best year in 2026 will not come from trying harder, from learning more, from having better circumstances. It will come from achieving coherence, from becoming a unified force where every part of you is aligned and moving toward the same reality. When you achieve this state, manifestation becomes effortless because you're no longer fighting yourself. You're no longer sending mixed signals. You're broadcasting a clear, powerful, coherent frequency that the quantum field can respond to with precision and speed. Think of it this way. Imagine you're trying to tune into a radio station, but there's static, interference, multiple signals overlapping. You can barely hear the music through all the noise. That's incoherence. Now imagine the signal suddenly clears, all interference drops away, and the music comes through crystal clear, powerful, unmistakable. That's coherence. When you achieve internal alignment, you clear the static. Your signal becomes pure, and the quantum field can receive it clearly and respond accordingly. But coherence isn't just a personal practice. It's also about aligning with the larger intelligence of the universe. There's a flow to life, a current that's always moving toward evolution, growth, expansion. When you're in coherence, you naturally align with this current. You stop swimming against the stream. You stop trying to force things through effort and control. You relax into the flow, trusting that the universe is supporting you, that opportunities will appear, that the path will unfold. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means your actions come from inspiration rather than desperation, from alignment rather than anxiety, from trust rather than fear. And here's the profound truth. When you achieve coherence within yourself, you begin to experience coherence in your external reality. Synchronicities multiply. The right people show up at the right time. Resources appear when you need them. Obstacles dissolve. What seemed complex becomes simple. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. This isn't magic. This is what happens when you stop broadcasting conflicting signals and start broadcasting a unified frequency. The universe can finally understand what you're asking for and deliver it precisely. So make coherence your practice. Make alignment your priority. Not someday, not when you feel ready, now. Start today. Start tonight as you drift to sleep, by bringing all parts of yourself into harmony with your vision of your best year in 2026. Think the thoughts of someone living that year. Feel the emotions of someone experiencing that reality. Embody the beliefs of someone who deserves and expects extraordinary outcomes. Take the actions of someone who is already successful. When these four elements align, when they become one unified force, you step into a state of power that transforms everything, and maintain that coherence. Don't align once and then forget about it. Align every morning. Check your alignment throughout the day. Realign whenever you notice you've drifted into old patterns. Make coherence your way of being, not just an occasional practice. And as you do this, as you become more and more coherent over the coming weeks, you'll notice something remarkable. Your best year won't feel like something that's coming in the future. It will feel like something that's already here, already real, already true. You'll be living it energetically before it manifests physically. And when you reach that state, when your internal coherence is so strong that your desired reality feels more real than your current circumstances, manifestation isn't just probable, it's guaranteed, because you've become the frequency of your best year. You've aligned every part of yourself with that reality, and the universe has no choice but to deliver the physical equivalent of your energetic state. This is the power of total alignment. This is what happens when thought, emotion, belief, and action become one. This is how you move from fragmented struggle to unified flow. This is how coherence creates manifestation. This is how you become an unstoppable force. And this is how 2026 becomes not just a good year, but the year when everything you've been aligning with finally crystallizes into form. Your coherence is building. Your alignment is strengthening. Your unified field is broadcasting. And your best year is already responding, already moving toward you, already preparing to match the clear, powerful, coherent frequency you've become. Chapter 9. Navigating the final days of 2025 as your ultimate preparation. The days between now and January 1st, 2026 are not ordinary days. They are sacred. They are a bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. They are the final opportunity to prepare yourself at every level, mentally, emotionally, energetically, physically, for the quantum leap you're about to take. Most people waste these precious days in distraction, in the chaos of year-end obligations, in mindless consumption and empty celebration. But you're different. You understand that these remaining days are perhaps the most important days of your entire life, because they determine the trajectory of everything that follows. How you navigate this bridge, how you use this preparation time, will directly impact how powerfully 2026 unfolds for you. Think of an Olympic athlete in the final weeks before competition. They're not training harder than they've ever trained. They're not learning new skills. They're fine-tuning. They're optimizing. They're bringing everything they've developed into perfect readiness. They're visualizing their performance. They're managing their energy. They're eliminating anything that doesn't serve their goal. They're preparing mentally and emotionally to show up at their absolute peak when the moment arrives. This is exactly what you need to do with these final days of 2025. You're not trying to transform yourself from scratch. You're bringing everything you've learned, everything you've practiced, everything you've become through this journey into final alignment, so that when 2026 begins, you're ready. You're primed. You're optimized to receive and embody your best year. The first thing you need to do during this preparation period is release everything that doesn't belong in your future. Old beliefs, old patterns, old relationships, old habits, old identities. Anything that's been holding you back needs to be consciously released before you cross the threshold into 2026. This isn't about dramatic endings or burning bridges. This is about energetic completion. You acknowledge what was, you extract the lessons, you feel gratitude for what it taught you, and then you let it go. You create space, because you cannot fill a cup that's already full if you're clinging to old patterns. There's no room for new possibilities. If you're holding on to old identities, your new identity can't fully emerge. These final days are your opportunity to consciously complete the past so you can fully step into the future. Look at your life right now and identify what needs to be released. Maybe it's a belief that you're not good enough, that success requires suffering, that money is hard to make, that you have to struggle to deserve good things. Maybe it's a relationship that drains your energy, that keeps you playing small, that reinforces old versions of yourself. Maybe it's a habit that doesn't serve you, scrolling mindlessly, complaining, procrastinating, staying comfortable. Maybe it's a job that you've outgrown, a living situation that no longer fits, a routine that keeps you stuck. Whatever it is, you know what it is. You can feel what doesn't belong in your best year. And these final days are your time to release it, to let it go with love and gratitude for what it was, while making space for what's coming. Release doesn't always mean external action. Sometimes it's purely energetic. You don't necessarily have to quit your job or end a relationship before 2026 begins, though sometimes that's necessary. But what you must do is release your attachment to these things, defining you, limiting you, controlling your frequency. You can work at a job you're planning to leave while no longer identifying as someone stuck in that job. You can be in circumstances you're transcending while no longer letting those circumstances determine your emotional state. This is energetic sovereignty, the ability to be in a situation without being of it, to participate without being controlled, to acknowledge your current reality while living from your future one. The second essential practice for these final days is consolidation. You've learned so much through this journey. You've been exposed to principles about worthiness, about emotional frequency, about visualization, about coherence. But knowledge alone doesn't transform you. Integration does. These final days are your time to consolidate everything you've learned into embodied wisdom, not just knowing these principles intellectually, but living them so consistently that they become automatic, that they become who you are rather than what you do. This is the difference between information and transformation. Information sits in your head. Transformation rewires your entire being. So take what you've learned and practice it intensely during this preparation period. Visualize your best year every single day with increasing vividness and emotional intensity. Generate elevated emotions deliberately every morning before you engage with the world. Align your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions into coherence. Affirm your worthiness not just with words, but with choices that honor your value. Make decisions from your future self rather than your past conditioning. Every day, multiple times a day, practice being the person who lives your best year. The more you practice during this preparation period, the more those neural pathways strengthen, the more natural your new identity becomes, the more ready you are when January 1st arrives. The third critical element is energy management. These final days can be chaotic. There are obligations, expectations, distractions, demands on your time and attention, but you cannot afford to let your energy get scattered, depleted, or pulled into lower frequencies. You need to be fiercely protective of your energy during this preparation period because your energy is your currency. It's what you use to create. It's what determines your frequency. It's what broadcasts your signal into the quantum field. If you allow yourself to be drained by drama, by other people's chaos, by mindless consumption, by stress and overwhelm, you'll cross into 2026 depleted instead of energized, scattered instead of focused, contracted instead of elevated. This means you need to set boundaries. Say no to things that don't serve your highest good, even if that disappoints people. Protect your morning practice time, even if others want your attention. Limit exposure to news, social media, and other people's negativity. Choose consciously what you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend time with. Everything either adds to your energy or drains it. Everything either elevates your frequency or lowers it. During this sacred preparation period, you only allow into your field what supports your transformation. This isn't selfish. This is strategic. You're preparing for the most important year of your life. You can't do that while letting your energy leak in 1,000 directions. The fourth practice is gratitude for what's coming. Most people practice gratitude for what they have, which is valuable. But there's another level of gratitude that's even more powerful for manifestation. It's gratitude for what hasn't manifested yet, for what's still in the invisible realm, for your best year that exists as possibility in the quantum field. When you feel genuine gratitude for your future, as if it's already happened, you collapse the distance between now and then. You bring that future into the present moment energetically. You send a signal to the quantum field that says, "This is done, this is real, this is already true." And the field responds by accelerating the manifestation of what you're grateful for. So during these final days, spend time every day in gratitude for 2026. Thank the universe for the opportunities that are coming. Feel grateful for the abundance that's flowing toward you. Appreciate the relationships that are about to deepen or arrive. Give thanks for the health, the success, the joy, the freedom that your best year contains. Feel this gratitude as deeply as if you were grateful for something that already happened, something you're currently experiencing. This isn't pretending. This isn't lying to yourself. This is understanding that in the quantum field, your best year already exists, and your gratitude for it makes you a vibrational match, making its manifestation inevitable. The fifth element is declaration. There's power in speaking your intention into existence. The ancient mystery schools understood that sound is creative, that words carry frequency, that declaration is an act of magic. Science has now proven that when you speak something with intention and emotion, you create measurable changes in your physiology and in the field around you. These final days are your time to declare your intention for 2026. Not just think it, not just visualize it. Declare it, out loud if possible, silently if necessary, but with absolute conviction. I am living my best year in 2026. I am worthy of extraordinary outcomes. I am magnetic to opportunities and abundance. I am aligned with my highest good. I am becoming who I was always meant to be. Your declaration should be personal, specific to what your best year means to you, but it should be stated as if it's already true, as present tense reality, not future possibility. Not I will or I hope or I want, but I am. Because when you declare something as already real, you're not asking the universe for permission. You're not hoping it might happen. You're claiming it as done. You're announcing your new identity. You're broadcasting your new frequency. And the quantum field responds to that level of certainty with manifestation that matches it. The sixth practice during this preparation period is witnessing your transformation. Take time to acknowledge how far you've come, not just in external achievements, though those matter, but in who you've become internally. How has your thinking changed? How has your emotional state evolved? What beliefs have you released? What new capabilities have you developed? What patterns have you broken? What version of yourself have you outgrown? When you witness your own transformation, when you acknowledge the work you've done and the progress you've made, you reinforce it. You strengthen the new neural pathways. You validate your new identity. You prove to yourself that change is real, that transformation is possible, that you're not the person you were when this year began. This witnessing practice also builds momentum. When you recognize how much you've already changed, you gain confidence that you can continue changing. You trust the process. You believe in your capacity to become whoever you need to become. And that belief, that trust, that confidence becomes fuel for the final stage of your preparation. You're not starting from scratch. You're building on a foundation of real transformation that's already occurred. You're not hoping you can change. You know you can because you already have. The seventh element is clarification. As 2026 approaches, get crystal clear on what your best year actually means to you. Not vague wishes or general desires, but specific clarity. What does success look like? What does abundance feel like? What relationships exist? What work are you doing? How do you spend your days? What's different about you? The more specific you are, the clearer your signal becomes. The quantum field responds to precision. When you know exactly what you want, down to the details, down to the feelings, down to the daily experience of it, you give the universe exact specifications for what to deliver. Clarity eliminates confusion. It focuses your energy. It makes your visualization more powerful. It strengthens your coherence. So use these final days to get absolutely clear. Write it down if that helps. Speak it out loud. Visualize it in detail. Know it so completely that you could describe your best year to someone else with such vividness that they could see it too. This clarity becomes your North Star. When decisions come up, you measure them against this clarity. Does this choice move me toward my best year? Away from it? Does this align with who I'm becoming or who I was? Clarity makes every decision easier because you always know which direction you're heading. The eighth, and perhaps most important practice for these final days, is presence. Don't rush through this preparation period wishing it were already January 1st. Don't spend these precious days focused on what's next while missing what's now. Be fully present to this sacred bridge time. Appreciate the transformation that's happening in these very moments. Honor the process. Savor the anticipation. Feel the building energy. This preparation period is part of your best year, not separate from it. The way you show up now is practice for how you'll show up then. The consciousness you cultivate in these final days of 2025 is the consciousness you'll carry into 2026. Presence also means staying grounded in your body. Transformation isn't just mental or energetic, it's physical. Your body is rewiring along with your mind. Your cells are reorganizing along with your beliefs. Your nervous system is recalibrating along with your emotions. During these final days, take care of your physical vessel. Move your body. Breathe deeply. Rest adequately. Hydrate. Nourish yourself with foods that energize rather than deplete. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience your best year. Treat it with the reverence it deserves. As you navigate these final days, you might experience what's called the dark before the dawn. Right before major breakthrough, there's often a period where everything feels harder, where old patterns fight back, where doubt creeps in, where circumstances seem to contradict your vision. This is normal. This is expected. This is actually a sign that you're on the verge of transformation. Your old self, your old patterns, your old programming, they're making a last stand, trying to keep you in the familiar, even if the familiar is limiting. Don't be discouraged by this. Don't let temporary challenges convince you that it's not working. This is the final test. This is where you prove your commitment. This is where you demonstrate that you're choosing your future over your past, regardless of what current circumstances look like. When you feel this resistance, this darkness before dawn, you double down on your practices. You visualize more vividly. You generate elevated emotions more intensely. You affirm your worthiness more powerfully. You stay in coherence more consistently. You don't back down. You don't retreat. You move forward with even greater conviction because you know that breakthrough is on the other side of this resistance. Every spiritual tradition teaches about this final test before transformation. The hero's journey always includes the darkest moment, right before victory. You're in your hero's journey. These final days are your opportunity to prove to yourself, to the universe, to the quantum field, that you're serious, that you're committed, that you're ready for your best year. And then, as December 31st arrives, as you stand on the threshold of 2026, you take one final moment of integration. You don't rush into the new year distracted by celebration or obligation. You pause. You feel the magnitude of this moment. You acknowledge everything you've released, everything you've prepared, everything you've become. You feel deep gratitude for the journey. You honor yourself for showing up, for doing the work, for choosing transformation over comfort. You recognize that you're not the same person who began this year. You've evolved, you've expanded, you've elevated, you're ready. And in that moment of pause, you make your final declaration, a personal sacred promise to yourself about who you're being in 2026, about how you're showing up, about what you're creating, about the frequency you're maintaining. This isn't a resolution that you'll abandon by February. This is a soul commitment, a covenant with your highest self, a vow that you seal with absolute conviction. And then, when midnight arrives, when 2026 begins, you don't just enter a new year. You step into a new identity. You cross a threshold. You activate everything you've prepared. You become living proof that transformation is real, that consciousness creates reality, that you are the author of your story. These final days are sacred. Use them wisely. Use them fully. Use them to prepare yourself completely for the most extraordinary year of your life. Because that's what's waiting. That's what's coming. That's what you've earned. Your best year is no longer a distant dream. It's days away. And you're ready. Chapter 10. Living. As if your best year is already here. There is one final secret, one ultimate truth that separates those who manifest their dreams from those who endlessly chase them. It's not about working harder. It's not about knowing more. It's not about having better circumstances or being more deserving. It's about this, living as if your desired reality is already here, already true, already your lived experience, not pretending, not faking it until you make it, but genuinely embodying the frequency, the identity, the consciousness of someone who is already living your best year. When you master this, when you can hold this state consistently, manifestation isn't just probable, it's inevitable, because you've collapsed the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You've quantum leapt into the timeline where your best year already exists. And from that elevated state, the physical manifestation becomes simply a matter of time catching up to your energetic reality. This is the culmination of everything we've explored together. All the visualization, all the emotional cultivation, all the coherence, all the preparation. It all leads to this one essential practice: living from the end, not living toward the end, hoping to eventually arrive. Living from the end as if you've already arrived. This was Neville Goddard's great teaching, the secret that transformed thousands of lives. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, he said. Not the feeling of wishing, not the feeling of hoping, the feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of already having what you desire, and maintain that feeling until it hardens into fact. But what does this actually mean in practical terms? How do you live as if your best year is already here, when your current circumstances clearly show that it's not? This is where most people stumble. They think living from the end means denying reality, pretending everything is perfect when it's not, lying to themselves about their current situation. But that's not what this is about at all. Living from the end means you acknowledge your current circumstances without giving them power to define you. You see where you are, but you live from where you're going. You participate in your current reality while broadcasting the frequency of your desired reality. This is the art of being in two places at once, physically in the present, energetically in the future. Think about how you would actually be. Think, feel, and act if 2026 were already your best year. If you woke up on January 2nd, 2026, and your life was exactly as you've envisioned it, how would you move through that day? What thoughts would you think? What emotions would you feel? How would you treat yourself? How would you interact with others? What decisions would you make? What would you say yes to? What would you say no to? How would you carry yourself physically? What energy would you project? Get specific about this, because the more clearly you can identify the consciousness of someone living your best year, the more accurately you can embody that consciousness right now. Here's what's profound about this practice. When you live from the end, when you embody the consciousness of your desired reality before it manifests, you're not waiting for circumstances to change you. You're changing yourself first, and then watching as circumstances reorganize to match your new state. You're not at the mercy of external events. You're the creator of them. You're not hoping the universe will deliver. You're claiming your delivery by becoming the person who has already received. This reversal, this understanding that you must be it before you see it, is what gives you complete creative power over your life. Let me give you concrete examples of what living from the end looks like. If your best year includes financial abundance, you don't wait until money shows up to feel abundant. You feel abundant now. You make financial decisions from abundance, not scarcity. You tip generously even when money is tight, because that's what an abundant person does. You invest in yourself even when it feels scary, because that's how someone who trusts in abundance operates. You don't obsess about your bank balance, because someone living in abundance doesn't define themselves by current numbers. They know more is always flowing. You hold your body differently, you speak differently, you think different thoughts, because you're being an abundant person, not someone trying to become abundant. If your best year includes vibrant health, you don't wait until you feel healthy to act healthy. You move your body with joy because that's what healthy people do. You choose nourishing foods because that's what someone who values their health chooses. You rest adequately because healthy people honor their body's needs. You think thoughts of vitality and strength rather than dwelling on symptoms or limitations. You treat your body with reverence because you're being someone who has vibrant health, not someone hoping to achieve it someday. If your best year includes loving relationships, you don't wait until the perfect partner appears to feel loved. You feel loved now. You treat yourself with the love and care you desire from others. You set boundaries that honor your worth because that's what someone in a healthy relationship does. You speak kindly to yourself because that's how loved people speak. You engage with others from wholeness, not from need, because someone in a fulfilling relationship doesn't need others to complete them. They share their completeness. You embody the consciousness of being deeply loved right now, and that frequency attracts people who match it. This is living from the end. You identify the state of being that corresponds to your desired reality, and you embody that state now, consistently, regardless of current circumstances. You're not faking it. You're accessing a version of yourself that exists in the quantum field, where your best year is already real, and you're bringing that version into your current experience. You're collapsing timelines. You're quantum leaping. You're becoming your future self in present time. But here's what makes this challenging. Your external reality will lag behind your internal shift. There will be a period where you're being abundant, but your bank account doesn't reflect it yet. Where you're being healthy, but your body hasn't caught up yet. Where you're being successful, but the external markers aren't visible yet. This is the gap that tests you. This is where your faith is proven. This is where most people give up, reverting to their old state because they don't see immediate physical evidence of their internal change. But this gap is natural. It's expected. It's part of the process. The quantum field needs time to reorganize physical reality to match your new frequency. Your job isn't to see it happen. Your job is to maintain the frequency until it happens. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant it in soil, water it, give it sunlight, and then you wait. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You don't panic because you can't see the sprout yet. You trust the process. You know that beneath the surface, invisible to your eyes, growth is happening. Roots are forming. The seed is transforming. And then one day, the sprout breaks through the soil. The invisible becomes visible. What was happening energetically becomes physical reality. Your manifestation works the same way. When you live from the end, when you maintain the consciousness of your best year, you're planting seeds in the quantum field. And those seeds are growing. Roots are forming. Transformation is happening beneath the surface of your visible reality. Your job is to maintain your frequency, to keep being the person who has already received, to trust the invisible process until the visible proof appears. This requires a level of self-discipline that most people never develop. Not discipline in the sense of forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, but discipline in the sense of mastering your attention, your thoughts, your emotions, your state of being. It means catching yourself when you slip into old patterns and consciously returning to your chosen state. It means noticing when you're thinking from lack and deliberately shifting to abundance. It means feeling when you've contracted into fear and consciously elevating to trust. It means recognizing when you're acting from your old identity and choosing to act from your new one. Every moment becomes a choice. Every thought becomes a vote for your future or your past. Every emotion broadcasts a frequency that's creating your next experience. And the more you practice living from the end, the easier it becomes. At first it feels forced. It feels like you're acting, playing a role. But that's actually what you're doing in the beginning. You're consciously acting as if, until acting as if becomes who you are. You're rehearsing a new identity until that identity becomes natural. And there comes a moment, it's different for everyone, when the shift happens. When you're no longer trying to feel abundant. You simply are abundant. You're no longer pretending to feel successful. You embody success. You're no longer forcing yourself to think positive thoughts. Elevated thoughts become your default. The new identity becomes your truth. And when that happens, manifestation accelerates exponentially because there's no more gap between who you are and what you want. You are what you want. You embody it. And the universe has no choice but to reflect that back to you in physical form. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Lisa. She wanted to write a best-selling book, but she had never published anything. She had a full-time job that exhausted her. She had no connections in the publishing industry. By all external measures, her dream seemed unlikely. But Lisa learned about living from the end. So she started being a best-selling author before she had written a word. She introduced herself as an author at social gatherings. She set up a writing space in her home and spent time there daily, even if she wasn't writing yet, just to embody the identity. She visualized herself doing book signings, seeing her book on bestseller lists, receiving messages from readers whose lives were changed. She felt the pride, the joy, the fulfillment of being a successful author. Not someday, now. In her consciousness, she was already that person, and something remarkable happened. Ideas for her book started flowing. She found herself waking up early, energized to write before work. Connections appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Someone mentioned knowing a literary agent. Another person offered to read her manuscript. Opportunities aligned in ways that seemed too perfect to be coincidence. Within 18 months, her book was published. Within 2 years, it hit the bestseller list. Lisa didn't wait for success to feel successful. She felt successful first, embodied that state, lived from that consciousness, and her external reality eventually caught up to match her internal state. She proved that living from the end isn't wishful thinking. It's a technology for creating reality. This same power is available to you right now. You don't have to wait until January 1st to start living as if 2026 is your best year. You start now, today, this moment. You ask yourself, who would I be if my best year were already here? And you become that person. Not perfectly, not all at once, but progressively, consistently, deliberately. You catch yourself being your old self, and you choose your new self, over and over, until the new self becomes natural, until living from the end becomes your default, until the consciousness of your best year becomes your permanent state. And here's what will happen as you maintain this practice. Synchronicities will multiply. Opportunities will appear that match your new frequency. People will show up who align with your vision. Resources will materialize when you need them. Obstacles will dissolve. Doors will open. The path will become clear. Not because you figured everything out, but because you embodied the frequency of someone whose best year is already unfolding. The quantum field responds to who you're being, not what you're doing. When you're being someone living their best year, the field delivers experiences that match that state of being. But you must be consistent. One day of living from the end won't transform your life. You need to make this your way of being, your default, your new normal. Every morning, you wake up as the person living your best year. Every decision you make from that consciousness. Every interaction, you show up as that version of yourself. Every thought, you think from that elevated state. Every emotion, you generate from that frequency. You don't take breaks from being your future self. You don't revert to your old identity when things get challenging. You maintain your chosen state, regardless of circumstances. This is mastery. This is power. This is how you become the deliberate creator of your reality. And I want you to really hear this. Your best year in 2026 is not dependent on external factors. It's not dependent on the economy, on other people, on circumstances beyond your control. It's dependent only on your consciousness, on your frequency, on your state of being. When you live as if your best year is already here, when you embody that reality completely, the universe must deliver the physical equivalent. This is law. This is how creation works. You are not at the mercy of external forces. You are the force that shapes your external reality through the power of your consciousness. So as we close this journey together, as you prepare to step into 2026, I want to leave you with this final practice. Right now, in this moment, as you drift deeper into relaxation, feel into the consciousness of someone whose best year is already happening. Not imagine it, not think about it. Feel into it, become it. Let that version of you merge with your current awareness. Feel how they feel. Think how they think. Know what they know. And let that state of being settle into your cells, into your neural networks, into your energy field. Let it become real in your body, in your emotions, in your consciousness. Because that version of you isn't separate from you. That version is you, the highest you, the truest you, the you that's been waiting to emerge. And from this moment forward, you don't try to become that person. You simply are that person. You've crossed the threshold. You've made the quantum leap. You've collapsed the timeline. Your best year isn't coming in the future. It's here, now, in your consciousness, in your frequency, in your state of being. And over the coming days and weeks and months, your physical reality will simply catch up to what's already true, energetically. You'll see the manifestations. You'll experience the synchronicities. You'll witness the transformation, but you won't be surprised because you already knew it was done. You already lived it in your consciousness. You already became the person who experiences it. This is the secret. This is the truth. This is the power you've always had, but perhaps never fully claimed until now. You are not separate from your best year. You are not waiting for it to arrive. You are it. You embody it. You live it. Starting now. Starting in this very moment. Your best year has already begun because you've chosen to live from the end. You've chosen to be the person you're becoming. You've chosen to collapse time and space through the power of your consciousness. And 2026 will simply be the physical manifestation of what you've already claimed energetically. It's done. It's real. It's yours. Not because you wished for it, not because you hoped for it, but because you became it. Because you lived as if it were already here. Because you embodied the frequency of your highest reality. And the universe, the quantum field, all of existence, has no choice but to deliver the physical equivalent of your energetic state. Welcome to your best year. Welcome to your new reality. Welcome to the life you've always known was possible. You were chosen to receive this message. You were ready to hear these truths. You were prepared to step into this power. And now you have. Now you are living proof that consciousness creates reality, that you are the author of your story, that your best year isn't something that happens to you, but something that happens through you. Rest in this truth. Embody this knowing. Live from this consciousness. And watch as 2026 unfolds as the most extraordinary year of your life. Not by chance, not by luck, but by your deliberate choice to live as if it were already here. Because it is. In your consciousness, in your frequency, in your state of being, your best year has already arrived. And so it is.